I do well. Dumb.
And I'm going to go to live stream. Very true. All right.
What's very true? What do you say? What do you say?
26 are ready. 4 viewers. Okay, the lowers are the view count's gonna be a little wonky, but we'll get it. You will have a little bit of a lag. It's gonna be a little annoying. You're probably gonna want to mute Twitch, otherwise it's gonna drive you bananas. All right. So that being said, Kinky fuckers of Twitch, we're here. We're back. Kind of. We're no longer suspended. Apparently the asthma is what pissed off the TikTok gods, the Twitch gods. My dirty, filthy mouth while doing ASMR for all of y'all's pleasure is what got me banned. So now you will notice in the chat as it pops up, if you want ASMR, I will still give it to you, but I'll give it to you privately, and you have to pay for it. Because damn it, you're going to earn it, and I'm not going to get suspended again because that sucked. Also, I did remove the Beast Booty Shake, so you get no more of my sweet, sweet ass. I apologize. That being said, we do have some new... God, we're already at 117 viewers. I love it. There's going to be some new chat pop-ups. It's going to go as we go through, so keep an eye on that. And with that being said, we're going to have a jam-packed show tonight. We're all about education tonight. And we have awesome fucking guests. We have Freak.Like.Lee and now PlayfulJayce, the man, the legend, the myth, the Dom, formerly known as Call Me Sir J. You're going to be a legend. It's going to be legend dairy-free, in case anybody is lactose intolerant. All right, so I would love for you guys to introduce yourself. Ladies first, Freak.Like.Lee. I'm going to put you on the spot. Please tell them all about you. Give them your socials, where they can find you. Don't stalk her, just support her. Tell them where they can find you. Well, stalking is being a fan with malicious intent. We'll call it that way. I'm all. You can stalk me all you want, but shouldn't stalk the ladies. I'm just saying. Anyway, give them a little bit of an introduction to yourself first, just your socials and all that. We'll do the same thing with the legend, and then we'll get into some of your guys' kinks and knowledge, and then we'll get on the show on the road. So take it away, Lee.
Oh no, I can't hear her.
Oh, hold on. Wait. You are muted for some reason. Why? Hold on a minute. Talk again. That's really weird. Hold on a minute. So sorry. Wait a minute.
Is she muted on Discord?
No, wait. I think it's something I did. Try it again. Can you guys hear her now? Keep trying. Talk. There we go. I think we got it now. Hold on. Wait. Keep talking. Talk.
Stuff.
Now they can hear you. All right. Sorry.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
It was my fault. I had switched the audio around. So now you have to start.
Professional streamer, by the way.
I know. I am so professional. I am a... Well, now they're saying they still can't hear you. What?
Oh!
Wait a minute. I'm so confused. Okay, let's give this...
I can hear you when I pull up the stream. Yep, there you go. Now you're getting the
I'm
yeses.
saying yes, no, yes, no. Maybe it's cutting out. Hold on, let me turn it down a little bit.
No, I think you're good now.
She has noise. We can't hear her. I can hear her. Yes. You guys are professional. I know. We're definitely professional. We are the best streamers ever. Stop it. The audio sounded a little warped. I'm just going to turn down your volume a little bit. All right, try it now.
Can you guys hear me now?
Think you're good.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Shall I start? I assume I should start over.
Yes, you should start over. And by the way, before you do that, Miss Sophia, holy fuck with the gifted subs. You are a beast. My God, we love you. She just gifted fucking 10 subs. I'm sorry. That's awesome. Which, by the way, guys, don't forget, we do have our sub goal. We want to get to 200, and we want to see some hype trains tonight. Anyway, yeah, Miss Fierce is going to be on soon, and I'm super excited to have her, too. She is our Discord mod. Anyway, Lee, please, take it away.
Okay, so, my name is Lee. My TikTok is at Freak.Like.Lee. I don't have an Instagram yet for this platform, but I'm hoping to make one soon, and I'm also hoping to start a blog/website pretty soon here because I enjoy writing, and yeah, that's kind of as for socials and stuff like that. As for my kinks, I identify as a switch. I wouldn't say I'm submissive leaning. It kind of depends on who I'm with. So it's just kind of choose your own adventure. I like to think of it like that. And I am also pretty primal, I would say. And as for like my favorite type of like kinks I've seen to do, I really enjoy a nice power struggle scene. I'm not top club. So yeah, that's basically me, I would say, for now. To keep it short and sweet, I imagine I'll talk a little bit more as we get like a conversation going. But does that work for an introduction?
That was fantastic. I love that you mentioned the fact that you're into the primal stuff. We will. I'm sure there will be questions about it soon. Oh my God, 15 gifted subs. You're crazy. We love you though. I don't know why the hype train hasn't started yet. I'm kind of surprised. All right. I get way too hype over the hype train. I do little dances because it's just fun. The man,
point of the hype train.
It is, but I think they're supposed to be hyped, not me going like, let's do more. Yay.
Everybody's got to get hyped.
PlayfulJayce, formerly Call Me Sir Jay, and I only want to tie that in just for your fans who maybe haven't made the switch yet as far as your
I mean, yeah,
your name change. Make sure
that's what it is.
Like I'm sure there's already some people going like, wait, why can't I find Lion Pride Chaos? I don't understand. Because we unfortunately blew up, and after like all my names were different. So like my TikTok name was different than my other name, and then this name was different, and I finally hit the 60-day mark where I could change it. I'm like, all right, changing it now. So anyway, now that you are officially PlayfulJayce, please do give them all of your information and that fun stuff.
I mean, yeah, used to be known as Call Me Sir Jay. Now I'm PlayfulJayce. All of my social media handles are the exact same, except for Twitter, I think, because someone has the original one. But there's a dot in the middle between the two words there. But everything's just PlayfulJayce. Everyone just calls me Jay, though. I don't really go by any other name, except my mother calls me Jill. But that's that. But you can call me whatever you want. Jay's fine. I'm a relatively, I guess, new dominant to the scene. I've only been in the scene for the past 3 years, I want to say. Yeah, 3 years, since the end of 2017. I'm a bit of jack of all trades because I'm still trying to figure out my exact niche, if you will, but my specializations are in rope, rigging, and some forms of edge play. I'm not much into primal like everyone else here, but to each their own.
Fantastic. And that's actually, I want to draw attention to that before we get too deep in the thing. And by the way, these are probably going to come off like halfway through the stream. I'm just letting you know, because the weight of these goddamn ornaments on my face is already just a little much.
Yeah.
I actually made them I was going to make them wait till 200 subscribers, but we hit it on TikTok. So, but no, I wanted to bring up the point that, you're 21 and refreshment. Lee, how old are you? I apologize. I forgot.
I'm 23, and I also should mention I've been in the scene of, I would say I've been in the scenes for about 2 years, so I feel I'm relatively new too. I was introduced to kink when I was 19, so I just want to put that out there too.
No, perfect.
So,
And that's one of the reasons why I want to make the point of, because I've mentioned it before for those of you guys who are just tuning in. This podcast is meant to be free form, and it's meant to give you access to educators, but also access to people that are somebody you can relate to. And one of the reasons why I really appreciate these two creators and why I wanted them to be here is because they are not 50 fucking years old. And they are the perfect example that we need to remove this idea of ageism from kink. Now, that being said, no minors should be in kink. Let's just clarify that right now. I mean, although I've said it before too, like, we all know that kids are going to do whatever the fuck they're going to do. But no, we shouldn't be having them come to munches and otherwise. That being said, though, I've talked to some creators in the kink world and some educators who are like, well, you shouldn't do anything until you're 25 because your limbic system's not developed and blah, 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 blah. When I was 21 on the scene, despite the fact that I had had knowledge, I had learned from a dom, you know, the old school way of if you're going to be a dom, you submit first and you learn that way. I dealt with a lot of pushback because of my age, despite my knowledge. Now, mind you, I know now more at 37 than I did at 21. But one of the reasons why I appreciate both of you is I don't see any drops of immaturity in your content. I don't see any. I see really good information, and I see that it's. I don't want to say neutral, but it's not. It's not gatekeeping. It's not negative. It's very positive. It's good, and I think that that's what the kink community as a whole needs. Especially for people starting out, because, you know, we say it all the time that even if you just like to spank your girlfriend or you're just a service sub and you just like taking care of your partner, all of that is still technically in that BDSM field, and it's all valid. You don't have to be some crazy person with fucking floggers around, you know, and wearing a leather vest to be kinky, to be accepted in this community, at least not in my world. But I think one of the first things I wanted to have you guys talked about was, people say they tuned in, they were confused by my beard. One of the things I wanted you guys to talk about specifically was your experiences being younger. There is glitter in it. They're saying I need glitter. There's glitter in it. You see it? It's kind of there.
Shimmer.
It's a shimmer. It's a little shimmering. I said I looked like a fucking stripper queefed on my face. Or I just left the greatest gay pride parade ever. Because our dog is glittered, our bathroom is glittered, everything. Alice has glitter all over. It's just everywhere.
Because everywhere.
All this is beard oil, then you just throw fucking glitter at it. Yes.
Their experiences being
Yes, sorry. I was getting there. Anyway, I would like for you guys to talk about your experiences, specifically being younger in kink, any gatekeeping or pushback you've dealt with. Also, because you are newer and you started recently, I know one of the... Daddy! Sorry, somebody just played the daddy sound effect. One of the common questions we get a lot is how to get started in kink. So I'd also like you guys to talk about kind of your specific first experiences, dipping your toes in, that kind of thing. Whoever wants to go first, don't fight over.
Go first?
Yeah, sure. So number one thing I always say when people ask about how to get started into kink is go to your local nearest munch. I found mine on FetLife. I know there's a bunch of other ways to find them. I've just heard FetLife is the best, and in my experience, FetLife is just the best place to go to find local munches. I actually went to my first on my 18th birthday because I was like, okay, finally, I can go. Now, I am admitting I lied on my FetLife age just so I could get ready to figure out where I was going to go. But I went there on my 18th birthday, and that's where I actually found my first mentor. And I was very fortunate to have a mentor right off the crack of the bat. But that's kind of how I got started into it. And obviously, there's tons and tons of good resources online, but nothing trumps that in-person experience with someone who's, decades into the lifestyle, has had multiple mentees before, knows what they're talking about, teaches regularly. Nothing trumps that.
Now, if I might ask you, while you're on that topic, you don't have to share what city you're from. If you know, I don't want you to put yourself at risk or anything like that. But our community was different. I'm just curious as yours. Is yours one of the communities where it's 18 to 21, it's munches only, there's no play parties accessible to you? Or is it one that, like, we've had other guests on who they were able to go to play parties and those type of things from 18 on?
I've never had that kind of age limitation before, just because of where I've been. Now, I've been to munches and play parties all across of my state, Texas, but I've not personally run into any of those age restrictions. But I guess if I had, I wouldn't have gone. So, but no, from 18 onwards, munches, play parties, whatever, as long as you're, adhering to the rules and you've gotten vetted by, the dungeon moderators, you're pretty much good to go with whatever, as long as you're over 18.
And that's what I like to hear. St. Louis has a big problem where even now, they are 21 and up. Now, for a brief period, 6 to 8 years ago, where my experience comes from is I actually hosted what was called Cuff back in the day. When I was about your age, actually, 22, 23, all the way to about 26, 27. And I started, actually up to 30. I started a series of events called Cuff, which was Kinky under 40 fetishists. And the reason being was because at the time, my girlfriend and I had a poly partner who was 19 and wasn't allowed in the play parties. And it was this very ageist attitude of, you're not welcome, you don't belong here, etc. So we're like, well, this is stupid. So you can go to, we want people to come to Munch and talk about it, but you can't do it. You can't do this. No, it's bad. So we said, no, we're going to start an event and we're going to have people educated. And it was crazy because we literally went from 80 people our first event to the second one had 350. And we went, oh shit, what do we do?
Hey, baby.
And then the third one had 1,000. Yes.
No audio.
They can't hear me? You're looking at the wrong thing, honey. You can't hear me on yours? Can you guys hear me? Lee, you can hear me, right? Jace?
Yeah, the stream can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you here as well.
Apparently they can hear me too. Okay, they're here now. What you're talking about, baby.
Okay.
Anyway, so it blew up, and and like Alice comes from the Texas scene, and she said how healthy it is. Unfortunately, the St. Louis scene imploded because we had a group, and I'm sure in Texas it's the same way, but like in St. Louis, obviously, if you're a sex offender, you're not welcome at events, period. Yeah. Kind of common sense, I would think, but there was a group that had 4 of them in their registry.
What?
It was just my page.
Oh, it's her. Sorry, it was out. But yeah, 4 plus felons. They were doing open blood play with HIV people. It was all bad. And the whole community went, no, go away. We don't want you. And when that happened, they said, well, fuck you. And they outed the whole community. They literally got 3 play spaces shut down. They sent a secret camera into like one of the play parties and was on the news. It was a whole thing. And like this guy's under like, oh, you could get killed with this shit. And meanwhile, he's flogging some submissive on the news with it all blurred out. And I'm like, holy fuck. Which is why
That's insane.
We don't do anything with the St. Louis scene anymore because it just hasn't recovered. Now, like the play parties are here. Like there's one at the strip club, which to me is a little weird. I'm not one who's big on like, yeah, let's bring my partner in and whip her in a strip club. That's just not my thing. And then the other ones are really super underground. And they're also, again, geared to that older dynamic. So, and Jace, you mentored, but you didn't submit first then?
I had a mentor, yes. Now, when I was first getting into everything, and I was discovering what these terms, dom and sub, switch, and all that meant, when I was first getting into all that and, learning what it was, for a while, I did identify personally as a submissive. Like there wasn't a dominant bone in my body. But as me and my partner grew together, she decided she was the dominant, I was the submissive. She switched, and then I ended up going to switching, and now we've gone into a full 180, and now I'm the dominant with no submitting, and she still switches, but very, very rarely. But that was actually due to some, not going to get into all the details of it, but that was due to some trauma. But when I started actually learning and getting into the scene, I just had a mentor right off the bat. No submitting to them. I didn't go through that old school way of submit to dominate.
Well, but see, you still had a mentor, and I think that's still, I think that's kind of the same thing. You know, I mean, you don't get you might not get the psychological, but you see, you also did submit, so you still have that psychological knowledge of both sides. Which, by the way, I got to tell you, I love the SSC flag behind you. By the way.
Oh yeah, just chilling back there.
Like, hey, if you didn't know I'm kinky, there's the flag right there. Right? I'm letting my freak flag fly literally in my background. I'm more of a rack guy myself, but I still applaud SSC.
I've actually gone more into identifying with the rack prick, depending on what it is, more on that borderline.
Well, and Frank, and we'll get into this too, but you know, my big tell always for people is like, hey, all this stuff has risk. Even the SSC stuff has risk. Like, none of it is 100% safe if you fuck up.
Yeah.
And that's one of my, and we'll get into that more. But Lee, I'd love to hear, since Jayce went into it, let's talk about you getting started. How'd you get your start?
Okay. So for me, it's very different. I honestly, and this is why I was nervous to do the podcast, is because I've never been to a munch before, and and that's why I have so much imposter syndrome, and that's why I try to avoid necessarily being. I'm not an educator. I would never call myself that. And it makes me feel I hate that I've never been to one. I hate that I've never had a mentor, but I have had a dominant before, and I have had a couple actually. And when I was 19 is when I had my first one. And that's how I learned. Also doing my own personal research online and through reading and stuff like that. For me, it's been a very personal journey, very based in myself. And part of that is because of how I grew up. It took me a really long time just to be okay with the fact that I was into this stuff. And I was scared. And I thought that, I can't really let anyone know. I don't even really want to find anyone because I wonder if people be freaked out because I grew up really heavily invested in purity culture. I'm not going to go too much into that because I don't want to bore people. But it took me a very long time just to even be able to talk about it. And that's part of the reason why I started my TikTok. But yeah, for me, it was a very personal, very kind of on my own. I would love to get a mentor. I would love to go to a munch once COVID's over. But that's how I got started. I got started through partners. I got started through myself and just learning that way. And so resources I've used a lot. I've used kinkacademy.com a lot. And it's, that for me. I know it's probably not the best, like Jay said, there's nothing like, having a mentor, so yeah, that's me.
Well, and I will say that I know you don't present yourself as an educator, and that's fine. I think that educators tend to pull
experiences education.
Yeah, people tend to worry too much about that title sometimes, and I think that despite you not identifying as an educator, I think that your experience is educational, and I think that you present very good information. I'm not trying to stroke your ego too much, but I mean, frankly, I'd rather have somebody who doesn't identify as an educator who presents great information from a frank and honest, real standpoint than somebody who is so worried about being an educator that it gets skewed into the negative or otherwise. I do have people asking about Kink Academy. That's a reference that I usually give a lot to. If you guys want to go a little bit about Kink Academy, you might have a little bit more experience than me with it, just because I know it's a good resource, but frankly, by the time Kink Academy really became a thing, I was a decade in, I think, to this lifestyle, so it's
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all I've got 10 people
a nice
asking what Kink Academy
for
is.
me it was. To just dip your toe in and be okay, this is it. Kind of get, a little bit more comfortable with lingo and some of the titles. At least it was for me. I can't say like, you know, of course, Munches, Fat Life, that's something that, you know, that's like, you know, your go-to. But that's like all I can speak is from my own experience. And for me, it was just nice to be able to get comfortable with just like vocabulary of the scene, wondering what I was into, and figuring out like, okay, that's what that is, learning how to be safe, stuff like that. So I hope that makes sense.
100%. Jace, you said that you kind of specialize in some areas of edge play. I'd love to kind of get into some of your specialties, and I'd love for you to give some educational direction, or really just honestly for both of you. I would love for you guys to kind of talk about what's on your mind, some stuff that, you know, whether it's stuff that you'd like to educate on or things that you'd like to speak to specifically and then reference back to your stream. But then also too, I do want to address it also just because you guys are both kind of in different elements of the world. You know, like I know freaks in the big Kink Talk group chat that I'm not in. Nobody loves me. But I would love for you guys to just, you know, kind of get into that side and talk too, because, you know, obviously one of the topics that's been brought up lately is, and I've seen it from a few people, that like Visa changed their billing now and people are really worried about censorship. And I still think it pulls back to, and you know, Jason and I had a conversation about this with, where our family was recently threatened with doxing because of some negativity stuff. So I would love for you guys to kind of go into your experiences on Kink Talk in general, but then specifically more where your areas of specialty are. Especially Jace, like I said, I know you are very specific to edge play and some of your other knowledge points. And I would love to include Lee with her primal, because you're not primal, but she has a lot of primal stuff that people always have questions about. But before we get there, I have a general question that I ask everybody. And I know, Lee, you're not an educator, but you have experience. One of the things that we say a lot here, and Jace, if I'm not mistaken, you do breath play, correct? You don't maybe educate on it, but okay. So one of the things that we've brought up lately, and we've had, excuse me, we've had actually first responders in the chat who have backed it up. We've had some medical people in the chat. But one of the things I brought up when we had one of our bondage guests on, and it goes back to that risk thing, that yes, breath play has a risk. All of this has a risk. But that technically, actually, from my experience of knowledge and medically related, bondage actually has a little bit more risk, technically, because of the fact of the complications that can arise from doing bondage wrong. And specifically the way that we teach, or that I teach breath play specifically, with the brevity of it, the attack of it, the using the hand, the specifics of all of that technique, making it as low risk as possible. But I'm kind of curious of your guys' opinions on that. And then also, one of the things that I drive home, and I think that, you know, you guys can either attest to or not, is when it comes to this lifestyle, honesty is huge. And when I say that, I don't mean you have to go to your boss tomorrow and say, hey, Mr. Smith, I really love getting spanked. I don't mean that. But I mean specifically when it comes to medical professionals and law enforcement, honesty in your lifestyle is very important. One, because if you go to your doctor, you can go, hey, these are some of the things I enjoy. And
You're
yes,
again.
I'm asking them a question, Brett.
His voice is very soothing. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm like, it's nice. It's okay. I'm like,
Well, I'm curious. I do like to have people's opinions, and I trust me, if I'm wrong, I love to know. Go to your professional and go, hey, these are the things I'm into. Can you test me for underlying conditions? And then it ties to with, you know, if you go to the emergency room for something and the nurse looks at you and goes, what are these bruises from? You don't want to make excuses, because then you're going to cause problems. And it's the same thing if like the police show up. You guys might not have heard the story, but I've told it on here before, where I was doing a very intense scene one night and the police showed up afterwards and said, we had reports of a woman being tortured in here. And I'm like, And I had a moment going,
Oh no.
fuck, I'm going to jail. And thankfully, she ran out of the bathroom that was right there, grabbing her boobs, still like topless, and going, nope, we're just having fun, and bounced off down the hallway. And the cops went, you have a good day, sir, and just kind of fucking beelined out. But again, it goes back to that honesty thing, because if she come out and been like, no, I fell, or whatever, they'd have been like, all right, dude, you're coming with us. But the sheer fact of the embarrassment on their faces, they're like, okay, we're just going to go. Like, you guys keep it down a little bit. But I would love to know your guys' experiences then to bring that back. With honesty, your opinion on the choking stuff, any experiences you've had with dealing with police or nurses or otherwise with your kink, just to, again, give people something to relate to.
Well, first off, that's a story that those police officers still tell to this day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that story is never leaving anywhere. Just as much as you tell it, I guarantee you they tell it like 5 times as much.
It probably is like this guy jumped off the building. We have another one here where the guy jumped off the building and got cut in half by the glass above the pool. I knew the cop that covered it. He was like showing it was really disturbing. He's like, here, look at the pictures. I'm like, oh God, that really happened. Okay. Like, I knew he jumped, but like literally he went like this, and I went, And I feel like it's like that story, and then like crazy meth head, and then, by the way, this kinky dude, like, it's probably those 3 that they just repeat all the time, or something in that kind of realm.
One day we got a call.
Oh yeah, those are the top 3.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, you gave us a lot of talking points, so
Yes.
Freak, I think we're going to need to tag team a couple of them. We can just go in the order that he gave it to us. Choking.
Yeah.
And the safety and all of that.
That was the first one, right?
Yes, it was.
Are you going first or am I going first? I'm sorry. I'm like...
I was going to let you go first because I have a rant on this one.
Ooh.
Okay. All right. Cool. I can keep it short and sweet so we can give you your rant the attention it deserves. I'm quite sure. As for me, I have a background in jiu-jitsu and martial arts. So as for safety and everything, I usually just avoid trachea. As for that, like, so like I'll do like if you have a little space in between for the trachea and you just push on the sides of the throat, it should be fine. As for me, like that's what I usually use if I'm choking or doing breath play. I know some people, they might be different. I know there's different types of chokes. There's blood chokes. There's everything else. And I know that you have had a lot of problems with that on at least the TikTok community. There's a whole thing with that for you. But as for me, I think that like no kink is safe. But I think if you educate yourself and you know what you're doing, especially even getting like some education, like through martial arts or jiu-jitsu, I actually think that happens to be very helpful because you learn how to do some chokes and you learn how to do some quite fun ones, frankly. And I think like, don't just throw yourself into something. Like I told someone once who was curious about kink, they were all just like, oh, okay, cool. Just teach me, let's teach me how to choke or something, and like let's just do it. I'm like, you can't just bring this into the bedroom or something on a one night stand. You can't just do it. No, it doesn't work that way.
Love that.
Like, and they're like,
attitude.
oh, wait, what? Wait, what? And I'm like, no, you're not gonna bring this anywhere because like it's not like you're not gonna go tomorrow to the club and like just go like, all right, let's choke. You're into being choked, and it's like, no, they're not really anyway. But,
wait, you mean that's not a good pickup line?
I mean.
Okay,
I don't know.
not to cut you off, but I will tell you that back before COVID, and when I was a younger man, and I used to go to the clubs back in the day because I was that douche. If I was dancing with a girl, I would, like, instead of holding on the hips, I'd kind of just slide a hand up and just kind of see where the reaction was. And if she I wouldn't choke anybody on the dance floor, but just that little bit of just a little bit from behind, right? And it was like, if they leaned into it, you're like, okay. Like, so not a pickup line per se, but that was that, or like if you reached up and grabbed a little bit of the hair.
A kink up line?
It was
scared someone one time, so that's why. So that's why now I wait till a little bit longer if I happen to have a connection with the person and be like, so what are you into? Yeah, that's me with choking and breath play. I think, it can be, it's not like nothing is safe, right? It can be done in a way that promotes safety. So I'm going to let Jay do his rant because I'm very curious about it. And yeah.
So my rant is mostly about the safety thing because, as I mentioned earlier, I spend a lot of time. The majority of the kinks and fetishes that I practice with my partners are edge play oriented, specifically knife play, blood play, and needle play. Those are the top three. Like, oh no, you're fine. Don't worry.
We're going to get into that, by the way. We're going to have to figure out how to do it with TOS, but I do want you to talk about that because that's a common question. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, that's because it's something I rarely talk about online, like in public platform, like TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, whatever, just because of all the various TOS terms of service things that, well, for good reason, are in the way. Because for the 1% of people that are talking about the education, there's 99% of people being stupid.
True.
And when it comes to all those darker, or I guess deeper things, you come across this issue that people have with kink, and it's the whole, and this is where it ties into SSC versus rack versus prick versus there's a fourth, it's like Bork or something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head, but when it comes down to it, no kink is inherently safe. It's just not. It comes down to how you practice it. And the majority of accidental injuries that I've come across are for the people that are doing what's considered, those lighter, safer kinks, but just aren't taking it seriously, and they're just messing around. But for the people that end up practicing more into edge play, they're so focused on that safety, and they're so focused on that making sure everything is going to go according to plan. Everyone's going to be as safe as can be. And because there's no room for error, everyone is so focused on the safety that accidents just rarely happen. Now, they still do happen. I've seen some horrible accidents happen, but it happens so much less frequently than people that are just messing around with rope or messing around with floggers or canes or anything like that. I've seen more injuries happen because of someone getting distracted in a suspension scene and, the knot slips and it ends up pinching a nerve. And it's horrible. And I actually have a friend, she had a dominant guy, whatever, trying to be dominant, and he started flogging her with a metal flogger, whipped around, and now she has a limp till she can get surgery to fix it. But when people are so nonchalant about what's considered these lighter kinks, you end up having issues with safety. So yeah, there's my little safety rant that I have every time I talk about edge play. But, and as for the choking is never safe unless, no, choking is just never safe. It's just mainstream, even though if you ask any long-term educators or people that have been in the lifestyle for decades, choking is one of the most dangerous things that can go wrong because of all of the invisible risk possibilities. Like, people bring up blood clots, that you could dislodge a blood clot and it could go to your brain. Or, you squeeze too hard and it cuts off the oxygen for too long. So on and so forth. That's the phrase I was looking for.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why I try
Kink is never safe.
It's never safe. And one of the reasons why I'm so big on... yes, I agree with them, the choking. My issue with it is where it's technically... It's the hypocrisy, I guess, of some of it, because it's like... It's where the attitude comes where it's like, well, we can teach bondage all day on TikTok without safety lessons and just show, hey, look, here's this pretty tie, but without mentioning like, hey, we need safety shears. Hey, you need to do this. Hey, you need to do that. Hey, you need, like, whatever. Versus me going, here's a blood choke. It's like, oh, he's the devil. He's the goddamn devil. Like that's where my concern comes in, because like you said, yes, you can dislodge blood clots, you can cause other things, but it's also then they twist the misinformation where it's like, well, if you do choking all the time, you're going to cause brain damage. That part's not true, and I can say that for a fact based on Alice. Not to throw her under the bus, but Alice has epilepsy, and my previous primary partner has hemiplegic migraines and possible TIA. So we've gone through neurologists and we've gone through MRIs, and I've had a frank discussion going, hey, they got brain problems. So is this going to be an issue? And they're like, are you cutting off oxygen? I'm going, no. Are you choking them for more than a minute? No. And they're like, oh, then you're fine. So it boils, and like, same thing as you mentioned the jiu-jitsu thing. And then people go into the police chokes, which is technically jiu-jitsu. And they reference George Floyd. And it's like, okay, well, that was like 5 minutes. This is 5 seconds. And I think that people need to understand that clarity. And also, hell, we've had people tie it to the kids choking themselves in the closet with the belt. The fucking autoerotic shit, which is so different.
Autoerotic asphyxiation.
Like and that's the problem is like if we're gonna educate or even talk about risk, I want people to have that like channel. I want them to go like, yes, it's not safe. Don't watch 365 and 50 Shades of Grey as a reference of what to learn from.
No.
But also don't be so scared that you're like, I don't want to do it. I'm scared. Like and it's the guy who outed the community here. Well, you could kill somebody. Yes, but if you're flogging somebody, unless you're just wailing on their fucking kidney for an hour, you're probably okay. And I think that's where people get mixed up is it's like, yes, there's a risk, but we take a risk when we drive our car. I smoke cigarettes, it's a risk there. I go down the elevator, the cable could snap. If you've seen fucking Final Destination,
Things like that.
God knows what could happen. I get scared every time I fly a plane that I'm going to fucking get sucked out. Because I saw a movie once and I saw visions getting sucked out of the plane. So, everything has risks. So the blood play and knife play, which I got to figure out how to do this TOS. But I know that's a kink of yours. And I want to touch on it because it is something that people ask about a lot. And I'm also curious kind of how deep you get into it. Because I reference vampire gloves a lot. Love vampire gloves, and we do have a nice big K-bar that thankfully after years of practice my hands are steady enough where I can hold it or drag it. Hell, Gypsy, yeah, see, there you go. Yeah, mine's a big black looking Rambo knife,
Yeah, mine's just standard.
And yours is probably sharper than mine.
I need to sharpen it. I haven't sharpened it in a while.
But I want to, I want to reference to people and just kind of give them if you can give them and we'll see if questions pop up. But maybe give them in that realm that you do with knife play, or we'll call it. Let's try to think of a fun word.
Or
Sharpie sharp.
Sharpie sharp. When you do Sharpie sharp things, let's use Sharpie sharp for TOS because I think we'll be okay.
Sharpie sharp things.
Sharpie sharp. Sharpie sharp, and we'll say knives or spoons. And
I like spoons.
I like spoons. I like spoons. I like stabby spoons. But kind of
give fork.
Give them. God, that's gonna be what somebody's gonna clip that. I like spoons. Like he's a great educator. I like spoons. I like turtle, but he likes spoons.
I'm crying.
Oh God, me and Jenny,
I'm
we
so
was like
excited.
peas and carrots. She fucked herself with a carrot while I peed on her.
Oh my God, why?
They're laughing. It works. They hadn't heard it yet. It's
They
okay.
think it's hilarious.
Anyway, sorry. Please, thank you, sir. Oh, Sophia, thank you for the 27 subs. My God. Somebody else
Sophia
sub.
going off.
Yeah, I know. And we're 28 away from our goal that we still have 11 days on. So holy shit. So Sharpie Sharp and spoons, give them kind of a big picture of your kinks and enjoyment with it without getting too. There's the hype train. Hype train.
There you go.
Finally.
Just for you.
All right. Now we gotta keep it going, guys. Play sounds. We have fun sound effects you can play. All kinds of shit, including you can Rickroll us. So please do. Please Rickroll us.
But Sharpie sharp.
But Sharpie Sharp. So please give us your big picture oversight of Sharpie Sharp and spoons. And then I'll keep an eye on the chat. And if questions pop up as they go, I'll have you answer them. But we're already, any advice for someone who wants to try Sharpie Sharp? By the way, Twitch, we're talking about permanent markers.
Spoons.
Sharpies.
Yeah.
Sharpies and spoons.
I have one of those around here.
There you go.
Where am I sure? They're up there. I'm too lazy. I don't have a spoon here. I'm sorry. They're all the way downstairs, and I'm way
Sharpie.
too lazy for
Sharpie.
Disappointing.
All right, go ahead.
I'm disappointed in myself too. I have a pen. Will that work?
That's
the
fine.
best I got.
It's a Sharpie. We'll call it that.
But so for starters, for every 10 seconds I could talk about spoon play and Sharpie play, I could go on for an hour or more about the safety and all the precautions and stuff that you have to go through before you even begin to start. So, firstly, do not try anything you don't put hours and hours of learning and education into, especially for things like this, because it is extremely easy for something to go wrong.
Hey, Jace, hold on. We just sorry.
Edge.
Backtrack about 10 seconds. We just got rickrolled. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I can't hear it. So.
I can't hear it either, so I'm like sitting over here like nodding.
If you start seeing me doing this while you're talking, just understand we got rickrolled. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So
Sorry.
I'm gonna make sure that you're the center of my focus, my man.
I'm sorry.
But for every minute or so I can talk about this and teach what to actually do, I can go on for hours about the safety and the precautions that you have to take, because it's so easy for something to go wrong. It's literally on a knife's edge. So just putting that out there, don't do anything involving actual pointy sharpies if you're not 100% confident in your own capabilities. For people that are just getting started, what I see a lot of people do, and this is how I actually learned, is you can get like, I forget what I first used, but I know people get like credit cards, old ones that they don't use very much, or like gift cards or something like that. Stick it in the freezer, pull it out, and that cold sensation, in addition to the thinness of the card, can be a good substitute for the Sharpie. And there's, extremely minimal risk actually using one of those, plastic cards. There's a very low chance. Please don't stab him with a fork. But there's very minimal risk if you're using those kinds of cards or anything like that. And that's just the best place to start. And without going into too much detail, when you do move things on to the next level, be sure that you are very knowledgeable about the tool that you need to implement that you are using. How heavy it is, how sharp it is. Everything about it is something that you need to know before you even touch someone else with it.
Which, I don't know. Do you draw on yourself with your Sharpie first?
I just do that for funsies, anyways. But yes. But yeah, everything I do, I test on myself first if possible. Outside of like certain kinds of ties, like I can't do full body, bondage on myself. Well,
and why not? And you call yourself an educator, and you can't do full body bondage on yourself. I'm ashamed. I'm so appalled. God.
I'm sorry. It gets really hard when you're on a hog tie.
Baby, can you grab me another ski? They're asking me to hydrate. I have to hydrate more. I'm out of ski.
Ski?
Yes, with ski. It's
ski?
cane sugar and caffeine. It's good for me.
That is so not good for you.
It's better than like Coca-Cola. No water.
Better is a relative term.
Yeah, it is.
Agua.
You know what? As much as I smoke, the soda's the last thing I have to worry about.
God.
No, that was a very good. I actually really like that explanation. I will say too, just because you didn't touch on it, but it's been brought up by one of our other educators. God, they're hydrating like crazy. Seriously, I need soda now. Jay specializes in water videos. Oh yes, you do. Yeah, I know.
Oh yeah.
Usually the doms are the ones who are like, drink water, and I'm like, give me ski.
Until you drink some water.
One of the things that I brought up, we hit that hype train all the way to level 5. Fuck yeah. Yeah. All right. I sound like Bill Clinton there for a minute. I did not stab that woman. All right. So don't.
I did.
Are we allowed to curse on here? I'm sorry.
Yes, you can cuss all you want. You just can't talk. We just have to say Sharpie sharp. Don't stab the Sharpie into the partner. Just draw on her. No, we mentioned before because somebody asked. If you want to get into consumption after the after effects of drawing on your partner, Don't know if that makes enough sense. One other thing you want to be aware of with safety is making sure you get your blood types checked. Because, I need to make the hype train harder because we maxed that level out. We're now at 112%. If you guys don't know, even just consumption of a little bit of, we will say, Crimson Life Force, can fuck with your system if you don't match up. Now, it's not all of it, but like specifically if you have the alien blood type, which I forget which one it is. I think it's RH negative is the one that's supposedly not from Earth.
The Sorcerer's Stone.
But that one actually can really fuck with shit if you're consuming. So it doesn't hurt to have a blood test. Frankly, guys, it comes back to safety with kink in general. When you go to your doctor and you get your regular workup, which even if you're 18 or 19, go get your fucking wellness check. Okay? Have them check your blood type. Have them check you for pre-existing conditions, blood clots. This is common sense stuff that is good for life in general, which I didn't. Now that I'm 37, I'm much more aware of it. 21, I'm like, I don't need it. I'm going to live forever. Give me coffee and whiskey. I'm fine.
Basically.
But now I would have figured out a bunch more stuff. And also, that's a great time, by the way, to get your STI check, which, yes, is important with kink. And also, guys,
sexual education.
That's it. God, that's one of my big things. And this is where the whole no minors and kink thing gets a little twisted for me, because I'm a firm believer that we need comprehensive sex education. I lost an ornament. We need comprehensive sex education at like 16. We need to give them the basics at 8th grade. Like, this is how things work. And then by the time they're 16, we need to go, fetishism is normal. It's okay. Being gay is okay. Doing like, well, that should be taught in 8th grade. But like, we need to give them the whole fucking thing, man. Because no, we don't want them going out and drawing on their partner with a Sharpie. But we also need to tell them that that kind of stuff is okay if it's done safely. And we need to remove that stigma. And frankly, if we're trusting them to drive a 2,000-pound bomb through the streets at 80 miles an hour while they're playing on their fucking cell phone, I think we can trust them enough to have a conversation to go, hey, this is stuff that's kind of normal. And it's okay. And please don't use, Twilight fan fiction as your education for kink, which is what 50 Shades of Grey is. 50 Shades of Grey is Twilight fan fiction, if you didn't know.
But
there goes my reading for tonight.
Right? Same. I'm like, but I also want to add a little something if I can interject.
Please.
Ask me also look up family history, because I have a history of I guess blood disorders, and my mother and her grandmother had these issues when they gave birth, and just with their bloods, not like when they bleed, they don't stop. So if I engage in something like Sharpie or something like that, I have to be extremely careful, because even though I've never had a problem, you never know when that's going to pop up. So I always look into your family history, and if you've had anything like that, and depending, anything in your family history, and you go get your doctor, always bring that up, because you never know what could be dangerous. And also, with the comprehensive sex education, as for me, because of how I grew up, I thought I could get pregnant through clothes. Until, no, dead ass, guys. Literally, someone told me, you can get pregnant through clothes. I got pregnant through clothes, which I am dead ass certain is a lie. And I was terrified. For Jesus. I learned that couldn't happen when I was freaking 18. No, I'm dead serious.
Hey, my sex education was 8th grade, taught by a nun in a public school, and said, here's a bunch of gross pictures of stage 5 fucking herpes, where that part just was one giant fucking herpes. And if you have sex before you're married, this is going to happen. Your dick's going to fall off. You're going to fucking die. That's basically what sex education was when I was in 8th grade. So,
better than what I got.
Right? Yeah, and it's just I had to find out all the things about it.
You didn't.
You interrupted Lee. I had to pull them out because they were starting to pull on the beard. I'm so glittery. Yes, using scare tactics should not be allowed in general. Also, I want to tie it to Jace that you didn't mention. If you do you might have. I didn't catch it. If you do blood play with somebody, please, Sharpie, your marker should be tied to that partner and never touched again on anybody else. I know, yes, you can technically clean it, and especially with metal, but typically, if I've drawn on anybody, that is a marker bond to that partner. Is where I stick with it. And that, you know, like you brought up the bleeding disorder. You can break skin with a whip. You can break skin with vampire gloves, and that's why. And like that's the thing, guys. Too, is if you break skin with something else, it's not just the toy that broke skin. It's everything that touches them after, also.
Right.
Because yes, you can clean floggers too, but it's not the easy. And God forbid, unless you bought a $300 custom flogger, if you've got a $20 Amazon flogger, it's not that hard to bond it to one person. For the love of God. Like, yeah, it's $20. Just buy one less Starbucks and you're fine. Well, Jace, so let's go to Lee and let's talk about Primal, because that's another big question.
Okay.
Puts you right on the spot.
Cool. Bet. So, as for me, lots of my kink and my primal thing is pretty psychological. Like, I just am really into the chase. I like being prey and being the hunter at the same time. Like, that's why I say I like a good power struggle scene. I like to see where it goes for me. Like, let's say I could start out being the prey. I don't know. And for those of you who don't know, prey is the one being hunted. Obviously, hunters being the one that's getting the prey. So for me, that's how I like to, it just kind of, like I said, choose your own adventure in the beginning. For me, that's how it starts. I don't have I don't like, some people are very animal, like have like an animal to kind of relate to. Like some people like wolves, some people are like, sometimes, at least from what I've been seeing, like sometimes you can kind of be cat-like, sometimes there's tiger play, like there's a bunch of different types of primal you can be. I'm still discovering the animalistic side of me and what I relate to most. I can growl. I'm not going to demonstrate here, but it's a shame because I have to be in the moment for it to actually sound like a growl. But now it just sound like a baby tiger. But for me, when it goes like that, what was I saying? I lost my train of thought.
Getting all flustered.
I know. I'm like so nervous, guys. I don't know why. But yeah, for me, it's choose your own adventure. For me, it's been really interesting it's really interesting to base so much off of like play instinctually and how, like, since I'm so into the chase and like the idea of being taken over, it's really been interesting and fun for me to figure that out. And I don't know. It's one thing I'm really excited to try at one point is like doing something outside, but like I don't know, like being like, of course there's like that problem being like caught or being like seen. And that's not necessarily one of my things. So one day I hope to do that. And I also like playing with elements, like being cold, being warm. That's also really fun. That's kind of proud for me. I hope that all made sense. I'm being purposefully vague because of POS.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Purposefully vague there. But it's, yeah, like I can get, like, thing is, like, what I really like too is, thing is, like, as for primal for me, like, you know, you have to be, like, you know, safe and you have to discuss terms beforehand, but all bets are off. Like, you know, yeet me or I'll yeet you, stuff like that. So for sake of TOS, again, purposely vague. But what primal is for me, it just, like, bottom line, it's instinctual primal means for me. And it's really fun to explore because there's just a whole world of things you can do with it. It can mean so many different things. So that's, I hope that all made sense. I'm very nervous, and also I'm trying to be vague, but
Nothing
yeah.
to be nervous about. You're doing great. Alice is over here making notes in case you ever visit. Like, yeet Lee, just to make sure that we know all the big ones. We're discovering all your secrets so we can use them against you later.
That's fair.
I will mention that Primal doesn't also have to be necessarily animalistic.
Right.
Alice, I would say is primal, and yes, I'll growl. But we don't necessarily, and I'll talk about lions and wolves and things like that. But a lot of times, primal for us just comes down to her bratting hard enough to get me to just go and just fucking go ham, which is also primal because you're basically you're tapping into that primal nature, your animalistic nature, going fuck you, you're mine. This is done.
And you want to bet?
Yeah, and then
that's what I like too. Like, that's me too. It's like, you know, I remember one time I happened to be the hunter in this case. They were just going at it, and I was like, okay, fuck it, and went ham. And it was really fun. It was really interesting. But yeah, that's what I get that vibe. Sorry, I'm so nervous.
You're doing really. It's really cute. You're doing very well. You mentioned the Coldplay, and I was actually going to mention this for Jayce, and I don't know if he's done it before. But something else, if you want to get into Sharpie and that kind of pain, which is also, I would say, more sting-oriented than otherwise, one thing I've done before, and if you guys are in kind of a major city, it's not hard to find, you can do dry ice branding, which can be done pretty safely. You can go to, I mean, like here in St. Louis, it's CK Supply, but if you just look dry ice up, you can get it pretty much anywhere. It's like $1 a pound or $10. It's $10 a pound.
Here in Texas, you can just get it in the grocery store at some grocery stores.
Yeah, it's not crazy expensive by any means. Now, mind you, don't handle it with your bare hands, for the love of God. But you can actually take dry ice. You put a little bit of alcohol in a bowl of some kind, and basically what you do is you can take a Christmas ornament or a cookie cutter. Sorry, not a Christmas ornament. Don't do that. That'd be bad. Cookie cutter. And let it soak for a little bit, and you can press it to the skin, and you're gonna get that same kind of burning, cutting sensation, and it leaves a really cute mark. And now, mind you, not for more than a couple seconds, because you can cause frostbite and other things. But the other advantage is too, by using like the cookie cutter method, is it's such a thin layer
piece of
that it's hard to actually do damage with it because it warms up pretty quick. But it's also for those of you who want to try like branding, which some people really like that kink. For me, that's a bit too far. Unless you're doing like a lighter and just do whatever. That's a real easy, fun way to get into it safely. Plus, then your partner gets to walk around like a fucking gingerbread mark on them for a month, which is great fun. So, are you into the Lava is Hot play also, Jayce, or is that not another edge play you're into?
I'm assuming by that you're referring to the nice fire. Or
yes, fire.
Okay,
I was holding up a lighter. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I haven't done much with an open flame. Most things I do when it comes to temperature are much more of the sensation based rather than open flame. It's something heated up flame or a candle or things in the freezer, like I mentioned earlier, or something where it's not using that direct source of flame, but I've still done stuff incorporating the flame. I have tried fire cupping once. That was intriguing. And I got to do a couple practice swings, not on a person, at a convention, I believe it was. It's a little fuzzy, but of a fire flogger, which was
those are fun,
intense, and almost very bad for my foot.
Yeah, I have had bad experiences with fire. Not with kink though. Back in the days we used to do burlesque, and we went down to a venue in Florida, actually called The Venue, ironically enough. And we were doing it, literally, it's like real original name there. And we went down there for 2 days, and the first day was great, and they were like, we're not going to let you do your fire scene. It's like, fine, okay. We had a whole bit where the performer was dressed as Mufasa, or Scar, sorry, and then like came out with like I did lit up black powder and had a black powder burn, and then she did fire fans and it went to a staff. And I did fire safety. We had the fire blanket. We had it all set up. It was great. So the second night, they're like, fine, we're going to let you do it. I said, okay, you're the stage manager for the spot. Make sure nobody fucking comes anywhere near this area because this is where the kerosene is, right? Totally fine. Well, apparently sometime in between there, the owner had just walked over and was like trying to be nosy, and he kicked over the kerosene and just flipped it back over in the tray. So I'm going over there and we're halfway through the routine. And I take the fans and I sit them down on the concrete where I thought it was safe, and it was all soaked in kerosene. So all of a sudden, like, I'm going to hand her the stick, and the whole thing goes, and I'm like, oh fuck. And meanwhile, like, mind you, thankfully we were safe with it. And my tech was there. We had it put out with a fire extinguisher in like about 20 seconds. I had really great burns right here because I literally picked up the fire tray that was on fire and just like ran into the street and threw it just to get it away from the venue. But nobody was injured except for me and the owner of the venue, who, for some brilliant reason, when the fire went up, decided to run through the fire to her car to save her car in the 20 seconds it was there, and she had kerosene soaked into her pants leg. And, like, tried to blame it on us. Like, no. Like, we have it on video where, A, we told you not to go near this, and B, you ran into it. Like, that's your responsibility. We were handling it. We were the certified ones with a fire extinguisher going this. And you're like, you know. It was just the funniest fucking thing ever. Which I will tell you also, I'm curious because you mentioned that you've done Sensation. Have you, and for the people in the chat, have you done VO5 before? Have you played with that?
I don't believe I know what that is.
So
Yeah, I don't think that it is either.
So you can get VO5 from Walmart. It's, hair serum, right? You can actually take VO5 and put it on an arm or whatever, and it'll sit there and burn. And it won't burn the skin. It gives you it'll give you the warmth, it'll give you the sensation, but it won't actually cause a burn as long as you're not just letting it sit there for a fucking hour. But because of whatever that oil or that cream is, it'll burn and give that sensation on the skin, kind of like really great wax consistently. Plus, it looks really fucking cool, but it won't actually do any damage if you're safe with it. It's a fun one to play with. Somebody else in the chat said yes, which, by the way, I don't know if you guys are watching the chat, thankfully. I love that you're not on your phones. Usually our guests are on the phone, so like they're cropped and they can't see the chat. But I don't know if you guys have seen this, but one of the things I really love about this is all the while you guys are talking, not only are they commenting back and forth, but if people ask questions and we miss it, our whole group is answering for it. We've got a really great, I'm not trying to pat myself on, because it's not me, it's the community that's there. But I really love our community that they're actually, VO5, somebody else is saying. I really love that people are helping out, and I love that environment. But that's just my little 2 cents there.
Oh yeah, I have the chat right here.
Okay.
Yeah, I just started looking. Wow, look at you guys.
Like, they really do help. Like, it's half the time, like, somebody asks a question and I'll miss it, and it's already been answered 10 times over. I'm like, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Okay, Lee, I'm gonna give you this one that just popped up in chat. VO5 has sulfate and not good for the hair. I don't know about hair. I clearly don't fucking have any.
Honey's good. Yeah, I like also cinnamon oil. If there's not anywhere near, certain orifice. Okay, but
Areas.
but like on this, if you guys have ever had cinnamon oil on you, or you could mix cinnamon and honey, if you've ever felt it, it burns like a bitch, but it's quite fun. If you like Kink.
I've made that mistake before. We have spanking spray here. It's Master Series spanking spray from Amazon. There's a menthol and a cinnamon, and it's supposed to like warm the tushy up when you do the whatever. Gives a little more sensation. I made a mistake of spanking and then going to do the other stuff and touching myself and having that moment like when you just cooked peppers. You went, oh god, yeah, I've done that. It's not pleasant. But I was going to ask you.
Cinnamon honey is tasty. Anyway, continue.
Well, somebody was asking about the ice cube in the mouth thing when you're and
I saw that.
I don't know how to phrase that with the kitty, but I've never had a girl that like when I was younger, like that to me was something I tried when I was like 16 and trying to be kinky.
Yeah.
I've never had like the pop rock on the girl doing the pop rocks. Like I
Yeah.
never got anything out of that.
The
And I've
girl
never had a
put pop
girl,
rocks in and then go down.
yeah, I was never like, this is great. Like that just so, and like the ice cube thing for me, like now I've done teasing on skin, but you as a woman, and Alice is here too, she can answer it. Like I've never had a woman that when I tried that as a kid, I was like, this is the greatest thing ever that your tongue is ice cold on my part. Like I just,
So,
am I wrong? Am I crazy?
no, it's just the problem is it also really depends on the person. It could necessarily numb you, and that's not what you necessarily want. And also, it can be quite. I don't know if for me, it's never been like, oh my god, this is amazing, and I'm just gonna, For me, I prefer it just on other areas of the skin, especially because it can be fairly sensitive. So, but it can be. I would say it would not be like the top notch thing for me to do that because one, in my opinion, that it can numb sensation down there, and that's not what for me, not necessarily what I want. And because cold things, and you put ice to something to numb things. So I would say it can be good, but just not for so long. Then it starts to get a little bit weird. I prefer ice on other areas, like my skin, my neck, stuff like that. Like for me, so that's what I'd say. I think that's personal preference based.
Bear's saying that their partner really liked it.
So
some people do. I don't disagree. It's funny. Somebody else in here mentioned while you're talking about that tiger bomb on the parts is like.
I don't know.
I had a partner once that really wanted icy hot on their. When I was much younger, I'm like, sure. Knowing now, I was like,
stuff like that.
The things we do when we're younger and exploring.
Things we do when we're idiots.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
for real. That stuff concerns me, like when people are like, "Oh, let's do that." So, like, because that's there are things in that can be very damaging, and you got to be like, ladies, you have got, and this applies to guys too. Further, but I haven't been a guy in a while, so I don't know. Anyway, so
you haven't been a guy in a while.
No, I'm trying to make a joke, and it didn't land.
I was
just trying to make sure I heard her properly.
Yeah,
and then I was like, is it okay for me to ask?
No, you're good. Okay, this was horrible. I regret this. I'm just gonna go. No, but
just gonna
out of here. But what I'm trying to say is, you ladies, you gotta be super careful about stuff down there. Like, do not
Look up your pH.
Don't just put anything. Put anything up there. Be down for anything. You have to be super careful. And this is something that I wish I had known because I was not kind to her, and I should have been.
Oh.
You know what I mean? And so, like, you gotta take care of yourself, man. Have that. You need that cat health, that kitty health. Take care of it. I don't know. So be careful. Like, if there's some douchebag that's like, let's play with icy hot, the fuck off.
Well, and also, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's a big thing that people don't realize about poly. By the way, is that pH can get real fucked with poly. And like you don't, and like mind you, there's cranberry and cream, but you also don't want to be treating your kitty with creams every month.
No, don't do that. Yeah.
Mind you, there's ways to kind of, and technically, over time, if it's consistent enough, like most women's stuff will kind of mesh up eventually, kind of the same way as cycles do. But yeah, just to be aware of that. I want to, and by the way, guys, if you have questions, please ask. I wanted to bring up with Jayce. I know, so Jayce, you have just, I know you're technically identified as poly, correct? But you have one partner right now. Am I mistaken?
Oh yeah, you're mistaken.
Okay, sorry.
I'm the same as you. I have 3 partners right now.
Okay, sorry. But you have one. The reason why I was asking is you have one though that's long distance, correct?
Yes, that would be Astrid.
So, and the reason why I wanted to bring it up is I know we have questions often about how to make it work, etc. So I would love to have you kind of talk about your experiences on maintaining that role and that relationship over long distance, because obviously long distance is difficult in general. But I've done it myself, but punishing a brat from 100 miles away is a little harder. So I'd love to have you give them your insight, your experiences, your thoughts, your etc. on that.
Ooh, all right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and out myself here and get everyone pissed at me. Yeah, like I'm just full on accepting it at this point. None of my partners are brats. Brats are not a archetype, S-type that I've ever personally dated in recent memory. But to be fair, I've only had, doing some quick math here, 4 girlfriends in history. So like actual serious relationships, I've only ever had 4, and I'm still dating 3 of them. So that's my track record. But
I'll give you applause for that because I'm a fucking whore. So I'll give you a little bit of a applause for that one. Go ahead, sir.
Oh no! See, that was just relationships. We're not talking about the other stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Full DS boyfriend girlfriend. Like
3 serious relationships. Everything else is bets are off. But
yeah, everything else was more play partner, one night, whatever. I can't do those anymore though, just because of all the kink and stuff like that. But so thankfully, I don't have to worry about punishing her. But she's much more of for our dynamic when it's keeping it for that long distance thing. It's mostly just making sure there's a lot of calling and constant communication and talking and spending the time and enforcing her rules and her orders and stuff like that. But thankfully, there's no real punishments. It's mostly here are your rules. And Astrid's a very obedient, sweet baby, and she's just like, okay, I listen. No complaints here. So I don't have to do any of that long distance punishing, but. When it does come down to long distance, now I have been in some long distance dynamics before. This one, so I don't know who all here has been in Texas or lived in Texas. Astrid is only 6 hours away from me. So when I say only 6, people are like, oh my God, but 6 is so long. No, not in Texas. I have to drive 12 hours this upcoming weekend to go see my family. That's going to be a little annoying. But 6 hours, that's nothing. So, for example, the most recent time I saw Astrid, it was 8 p.m. and I was just chilling here. I was in a Discord call with a couple kink talkers, and I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna go see Astrid. So I called her up and I was like, hey, I'm coming down. And so 6 hours later, I was there. Like it's not that big of a deal to go down there and spend time with her if needed. So it's not that bad for long distance.
Yeah,
it's not that bad.
I'm in Texas. Someone else?
Why are all the cool people in Texas?
Yeah, I'm Austin. Yeah,
because everything's bigger in Texas.
Yep.
Well, Alice came from Texas to here. Now we're trying to go to Portland. We're trying to go far, far away.
No. Get your ass back here.
But I've heard good things about. Well, I want to go somewhere where the air doesn't hurt my face. Which is either one of those places. The only thing is, my issue is with Texas, and she said great things about Austin. I do want to visit. I've been to Dallas, which I know is a very different animal.
The entirety of Texas is just so different. It's basically 4 states in one, and
we're so set on Portland because she likes mountains, I like ocean, and Portland there's one each way within an hour. And plus, I'm a Goonies fan.
We have that in Texas too,
right there. You have the Gulf. It's not. It's not quite an ocean. And how far away is the Gulf from you, though?
From where I am now, which is flatter than a fucking 2x4. The largest hill in the nearest 200 miles is about 10 feet high. But I'm probably a good 12, 14 hours away from the Gulf. I'd have to go double check that math.
Yeah,
I'm
that's too
6
far.
hours away from South Padre, which is an island.
And you're about distance to Corpus Christi too, aren't you?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, she's rocking her
Also,
Galveston jacket.
y'all, I'm gonna have to leave in about 20 minutes.
That's fine.
But,
that's okay.
Wow.
It's fine. We'll have a sausage. We'll have a sausage party when you leave. It's cool.
So we got to milk Lee for all of her thoughts before she leaves.
We have to milk the thought for the thoughts.
Yep. That's what I'm here for, man. I'm just gonna roll with it.
I'm gonna put you on the spot because I still fully intend to have you come up to St. Louis in this miserable fucking town at some point. There's nothing great here. We're here. There's not really much else great here. We have the arch and an aquarium and some shit, but we're cool. So
Like,
everybody's like, "Oh, the arch." It's like, yeah, it's the arch. It's cool when you're a kid and you're trying to get lost and you don't want to get lost in the city. You're like, if I go there, I know that's where the river is. That's about all the arch is to me anymore. Well, God, I'm covered in fucking glitter. It's getting worse as I go. Well, since we only have
Don't rub at it. It only gets worse.
I know.
And it gets all over your hand and then your keyboard and mouse.
Dude,
no.
I just think of like
I've had to ban glitter for my littles.
I'm just thinking of like that from Star Wars. Star Wars fans, Anakin. I hate sand. It's everywhere. No, it's like I hate glitter.
Okay, Anakin, calm down.
100%. Now, hello there.
Not even. Yeah.
So I do want to milk Lee for her information. I do want to, because you touched on it though, and people are asking, what are some? Oh God, all the littles in the chat. Ooh, shiny. You mentioned rules, and a lot of people ask like, what are good rules to start? So if you don't, I don't want to put you on the spot too much as far as like giving away all your personal information, but I would love to, if you feel comfortable, I would love for you to fill them in on some of your protocol-y type rules, your everyday type of stuff to give them some ideas.
For like,
so
I'm
obviously,
currently on the dynamic right now. I can go in the past.
Please do, both of you. I want to give them that because we want to drive home the point that it's not just spanky, choky all the time.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I know. False advertising. Shit, I'm sorry.
You mean you're supposed to like have a relationship with these people?
Yeah.
What?
Weird.
Damn, I've been doing this all wrong.
Wait, it's more than just getting called daddy while you rail them? That's not what it's about? Holy fuck. Like, you're supposed to help them build credit and build their life and learn that. What? Yeah, I know. I love that too. There's so many daddies out there. They're like their credit's fucked. They don't like their work. They work like 18 hours a week at Domino's. Like they don't know how to change a tire, but they're like, I'm gonna be your daddy because you're gonna call me daddy and I'm gonna give you a pacifier, and that's how it's going. Like,
yeah,
no.
I had a guy once be all like, I had happened to like, this was a guy I just had some I guess I chilled with this person and it had nothing to do with that dynamic, and he was just all like, so you want to be I can be your your daddy, and I was like, excuse me. I was like, no, thank you. Like, it's really hilarious. Like, what people think. Like this guy, like he was like, I'm gonna go to. He was kind of like what you were saying. Like, worked 18 hours a week at Domino's, and I'm just like, huh, boy, you're a Dairy Queen manager. This isn't happening. Anyway, but like,
hey, free ice cream though. I mean,
I mean, that's all I want as your just give me ice cream and
give me ice cream and I'll take your cream.
Ice cream daddy.
But as for like rules and stuff, like with me, like it's kind of typical, guys. I forget to eat and shit. I just do, and like stuff like that. So what we do is like, okay, like make sure you have 3 actual meals a day. Yeah, I know, same. It's just like, I saw this funny TikTok the other day. It was just like, okay, make sure you eat, buddy. Okay, you too. No, you can't make me. But it's like, so that is something that we'll try and do. Something that, or I've never been super high protocol, I will be honest. I don't, like, as for rules and stuff like that, like I haven't had many. But whatever we will do is like I had a history with eating disorders, trigger warning, anyone in the chat, and stuff like that. So I have a rule, I can't say anything bad about my body.
Hey, I eat sometimes.
Stuff like that. Like that's not allowed. If they saw me, starting to revert back to that, they're like I'm not allowed. They just take that off the table completely for me, which actually was very helpful for a time because it just was off the table for me, and and it provided me a little bit of kind of took that like mental struggle off of it. I don't recommend using Kink to get through all your issues. I never would say that. Work it out in a therapist office, not on Kink. Don't work it out there. But it was just helpful. So stuff like that. As for like the other rules, stuff like that, like I've rules for like same thing if I've had a I guess a sub partner. It's just more like, make sure you eat, take care of yourself, sleep. Sleep is a big thing for me because like whenever I want to take care of someone, because for some reason the people I've been with just won't sleep. They won't. I don't know what the deal is. I've never really done anything with money or anything like that. I like I said, not really high protocol. So pretty simple rules to begin with. I would say keep it simple to start out with. Don't make it super complicated. And just, that's what I have. Hope that answers the question all right.
That's it. And I want to ask Jace the same question, but that's a very good answer. We're the same way. I mean, God, we live this 24/7, and we're not high protocol. But some of our rules are as simple as don't split the pole. I'm superstitious, so like we don't. I'm a little stitious. We don't split the pole. I find it funny the whole time I was pointing to Alice while you're talking about being reminded to eat. She's like, I eat sometimes. She's notorious for like making me breakfast, and I'm like, eat. She's like, I'm not hungry right now. I'm like, eat. And I've gotten to the point where a couple times I've been like, okay, 2 big bites. Come on now, 2 big. Like, it's just I find it a little humorous. So Jace, what about you? You have 3 partners on the consistent. What are some of examples of some rules that you have?
So because like we said, we're not high protocol. We do high protocol scenes, like, those high protocol dinners. If you've ever been to one of those are super fun if you've never gone to one. But because our actual dynamic is, it's still a 24/7 dynamic. It's just not, super high protocol. There are not set rules. They are more, like clearly laid out expectations. It's not a, if you break X rule, you get Y punishment. It's very, what I expect of you, and if you don't follow through with that, there will be some outcome that you're not necessarily going to enjoy as much as if, you had done what you were supposed to in the first place. But, it's typically stuff like, make sure you're eating, make sure you're taking your medications when you're supposed to, get at least such and such amount of sleep, getting your schoolwork done, because we're all still in college except for Astrid. She's like, old, but like I said, she's 29. I'm 21.
Oh, fuck you! Oh, 29's old. Okay.
Okay, Grandpa, calm down.
Yeah. Oh. This is silver glitter, not gray. And don't let Alice hear that.
Well, hey, this is silver, so I can't really talk much on that, eh?
Alice has already counted my gray hairs.
I my hair silver, but I don't think I pulled it off. It's like just pouring down.
Everybody in the chat, I'm 33. I'm 34.
Y'all aren't actually old. That's this joke I make to her.
No, I know.
I just like to pick on her.
Cougar. Goddamn cougar in the car.
Still not the oldest I've been with or the largest age gap, but that's beside the point here. But it's a lot of those basic, self-care rules that are very important. But like, for Princess and Vixen, those are the, the titles that I give them. They need to be sure to do their homework and, get it all in on time and take care of themselves. And, in the cases of certain of them, go to therapy, make sure that they're getting all the stuff ready for that and take care of the stuff at home that they need to. There's nothing really outstanding outside of that, outside of, staying in communication, particularly for Astrid, because, long distance communication is really needed for that.
Communication's always needed. That's the biggest. Man, when you want to talk about toxic or fake, which, by the way, if you guys do the podcast again, which I would love for you to do, because everybody in the chat is going ham. And also, Mystic Faye Gamer just said, Jay, you have so much knowledge and experience for 21 years old, which I 100% agree with. Both of you, for your age, I'm extremely impressed. Not to stroke your guys' ego too much. Fuck, I lost my train of goddamn thought now. Fuck. Rules. Damn it. So much knowledge for 21. Son of a bitch, I forgot. I'll remember here in a minute. Damn it.
Losing your memory already?
I knew it was coming. Knew it was coming. Damn. God, the rules.
I'm gonna pay for all of this later. But
You
my
really
God, it's
are.
worth it.
Help me soon.
Go ahead,
Communication?
Lee. Go ahead and while I'm
Open
trying to.
Communication is the best.
Oh, communication. Yes. Sorry. If you guys were to come back now, remember, we try to avoid fake. To use the word fake, and we're very big here on specifying. It's my goal to get rid of that on TikTok too, but that's probably not going to fucking happen. But to not to eliminate the idea of fake, but to make a point when we talk about this of like bad behaviors and toxic, instead of blanketing everything with this, I don't feel like we fixed the problem versus going like, hey, communication is key. If you have a partner who doesn't communicate with you, that's bad. That's toxic. Whether they're dom or sub, you need to communicate your wants, your limits, your triggers, your past trauma, your feelings about a scene. If you're feeling unsure about a relationship, you can't build something if somebody just constantly says, well, I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. And I'm not picking on girls who can't figure out what the fuck they want to eat. But I mean, like, specifically, you've got to have a partner that communicates with you. And I think that it just tied back in that same thing. And I know, Lee, you and I have talked about this before, if we want to help move the community forward, I think being specific to these bad behaviors versus just saying they're fake is better. I think it's healthier. Because we need to address the behavior, not just the title, I think.
Right.
That's kind of where I'm at. So
my biggest thing with tossing the word fake around is that it's getting a bit redundant. It's becoming overused, and there's so many things that aren't fake. They're just either bad decisions or an incorrect whatever. Oh, is there something going on that I'm not paying attention to?
No, I'm just hyping you up.
And I'm packing my packing my cigarettes. You're good. Keep going, please.
I was like, I'm here, the slapping from over there, and Lee's dancing. I'm like, oh my god, am I just deaf?
I'm just hyping you up.
Oh, the hearing's gone, huh? Uh-huh. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, my hearing's gone. That's the too much time playing video games and at the gun range, but whatever.
Yeah.
Proper ear protection, kids. But
but the
no, it just gets tossed around so much that it's losing its intent. Because whenever I talk about people that I have considered fake doms, like the whole reason that I changed my username was because of its association with a person that it was in a just trigger warnings for conversation about fake doms, was an abuser and was abusing his power as a dominant to take advantage of people. And that's what it was originally supposed to be. Like, these guys are abusing and using their statuses as dominants or submissives in order to prey on people. That's what it is. They're predators. But now it's become this, oh, I disagree with how that person does something in their own dynamic, so they have to be fake. Or they're doing something that's I don't do. They're doing prick, I do rack. Prick means you're fake because you're not being smart, or anything like that. It's just become convoluted at this point. If someone makes one mistake or phrases something wrong, it becomes that person is fake. And then just try to cancel them, but that ties into cancel culture.
We've had it tagged on us, both because we've had it tagged on us because of the age gap that we have. We've had it tagged on us because of teaching edge play. We've had it tagged on us because we're content creators. Like, God forbid that we have a friends only. We can't say the other word, which I'm sure somebody in the chat's be like, "What's friends only?" But OF. But we've been called for that, and that's the problem. It's the same. It's the same thing as calling somebody an abuser when they're not an abuser. It's the same thing as calling somebody a predator when they're not a predator. You take the weight of the word out. You take the intent out, and you fuck over everybody who's trying to move the community forward, and you fuck over the victims more than anything. Because what happens is every time you do that to somebody and you use it, and then you get a few people behind it because they just buy into your bullshit, then the next person, then the other people that realize it was bullshit, then the next person who maybe actually has a problem with somebody else, people are like, well, but wait a minute. And like, that's a problem. It's the same thing. Like, I'm a huge supporter of Me Too. I'm a feminist. I believe that you can be a feminist and still be a dom. I believe you can be
absolutely.
I believe you can be a feminist and be a service sub. There's people that have that mentality, like, oh, you're anti, you're taking women back if you're a service sub, which is bullshit. I'm super big on the Me Too movement, but that too, movements in general kind of have that problem, it kind of just became where everything was Me Too. And like right now, everything is a fake sub. Everything is a fake dom. Everything is like, pump the brakes and let's pick our battles and make sure we're doing the right things for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and cancel culture is the same thing. I mean, God, they wanted to cancel fucking. What was it the other day that I was watching? It was something stupid where like, oh, they were wanting to cancel Robert Downey Jr. the other day because of Tropic Thunder. The millennials suddenly, I know you guys are millennials, but the millennials suddenly discovered that he was making fun of an actor doing blackface. And everybody's like, oh my God, he did blackface. We need to cancel him. Like, wait, no. Like, he was literally drawing attention to it. That's where all of that, it's the fake dom thing's the same thing. Like, call them out, but like, this is what he did. This is what this person did. Here's the facts behind it. This is why we're saying this. And he is X. He's an abuser. He's this, he's that. Otherwise, and that also goes for people, if you guys hear that fake sub, fake dom, fake whatever tossed around, don't just blindly follow it. Hell, I've seen subs called fake because they're a service sub. I've seen subs called fake because they're not a masochist, like they don't like pain. Hell, I've seen DDLG, which Jayce, I don't know if you've dealt with this. I've had littles and brats called fake subs. Because they push buttons or they push back and that's not a real sub. Like, no, that's not true at all.
That's also going back into kink history as well. Like, not up till like 30 years ago, brat wasn't even an S type that was considered. It was, it was a derogatory term used for people that were, disobedient. It was like, oh, that person is a brat, and that was considered a bad thing, and you wouldn't want to play with them. But like, nowadays a lot of people are like, oh my God, you're a brat. Fuck yeah, dude. But back then, it was, this derogatory term. And, people that were littles and age players a long time ago were considered like, these, I know it's not true, but like, these pedo, I guess, like, I forget the term that's used for it, but like, that middle ground, like, that's what those were considered back then as well. And like, we know that not to be true, but that's just how it used to be. And things got discovered and moved on.
And you know what? I'm glad you said the little thing and you said the pedo thing, because I'm going to issue you and Lee. I know Lee has to go soon, so I'm going to issue you both the same challenge, because I've struggled with it every time I've done this podcast, and now it's a source of humor for me. I want you to explain DDLG or being a little or middle without it sounding bad, because I realized the other day when I was trying to explain it that, although, yes, those of us who are in this world know that it has nothing to do with pedophilia, most ways you explain it sounds like fucking pedophilia. It really does. Like, and I think that's part of the problem is, like, you have to phrase it so delicately that, like, one word of it, you're like, oh, fuck, that sounds really bad. It sounds like I should be on fucking CSI or something. Like, and that's, so I want to see, especially because you haven't, Alice is trying to kill the computer.
Sorry.
Our desk's a little shaky, but I would love to hear both of you try to explain that dynamic or that world or that kink. And I'm just curious of how you phrase it. I'm sure that people here would love to tie into it anyway, but I'd really love to see your thoughts on it.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead.
No, I was telling you can go first because I know you're on a time crunch.
Cool. I also wanted to say just real quick, we were talking about cancel culture. I'll keep it short and sweet. But that's actually one of the reasons why I wanted to leave TikTok before, because I'm just like, this is just getting out of hand. And it's getting, and we go 20 years back. We take 20 years back on the clock for women and feminism, for victims, stuff like that, whenever we throw around abuse or we throw around toxic. We have to be specific with our terminology. We have to know what we're talking about. Unlike, also, we don't know these people. We don't know these people online. You don't know their actual story. I've seen so many people get canceled for no reason. Just because, somebody didn't like what they said. Somebody, like, also, like, this idea. I saw someone post in the chat just a second ago. The beauty of kink is the fact that you can mold kink to your own needs and wants, and just, it's customizable. And that's what people don't seem to understand. Like, just because, like, that person, like, this person does something differently than you, like, that doesn't mean that they're fake or not real. Like, but what you asked about DGLG and edge play, for me, for once, I'm just all like, you know what, if it sounds bad to you, then it probably means one thing. It means it's not your kink. And that's one thing I like to put, like, you know, don't yuck someone's yum, no kink shame. But if I'm trying to describe it to somebody who genuinely wants to understand, like my sister, you guys have seen her on my TikTok page if you follow my TikTok. My sister's vanilla and asks me questions all the time. Like, she's like, what is DDLG or something like that? What I describe is it's a way, it's like, I'm trying to remember how I phrased it. For me, it, like, how I describe it to people is like, it's a nurturing sense of play, if that makes sense. It's, for me, it's like what I would say if someone's a little, it's a way for them to feel taken care of in a certain way that they might not have gotten, or some way that, like, it's just, it's, to me, it's a very nurturing type of play. I find it very sweet. I find it very adorable. And for me, I would just, I like to put the words nurturing in there. I like to put, you know, safety, security. It just, sometimes the way you're just going to describe it, there's no, to me, there's no PC way to describe kink, honestly, because it's just kind of difficult because, you know, you got to be like, if you're not into age play, then you're just not into age play and you're not going to get it. You know, doesn't mean you have to shame on it or, you know, hate on it. But in my opinion, like, I can't think of a way to describe it in a way that would make people be like, oh yeah, that's not, you know, but you just got to understand that it's not. Am I making sense here?
No, you are. You are. But
yeah, you're doing good.
And
okay, cool.
You're dealing with the same things that I do, and your explanation is great. But part of it is too is that, like, and maybe DDLG is not inherently sexual, but some people do. Some people do sexualize it. Middles, I feel personally, tend to be more sexualized than littles because of that gap, and that's where that thing comes in. It's like, well, and it's not even necessarily from the submissive standpoint; it's from the dom standpoint of, like, and I always try to explain it as like corrupting the innocence of it. But then see, again, it's like, I know it's not dirty. I know the intent behind it. It doesn't gross me out, but I can see how some outside person can be like, dude, you're fucked up. You know, like,
yeah.
Because, like, here's my thing. I love my partner to wear a onesie and do that stuff, and I think it's super hot. But it's hot to me because I know she's legal. And I know she's, like, that's different to me versus somebody who wants that because whatever, like, and it's obvious to me because, like, if you, like, Little for Big, which is, I know it's not the greatest company sometimes, but, like, if you have a partner with any kind of body, that Little for Big onesie, you're going to see that they're a grown adult, right? But that's where the confusion, I think, comes from some people is because, A, they assume it's always sexual, which it's not. For a lot of people, it's actually, like,
it isn't. We just like to be nurturing, and I think it's adorable, you know, single color or something like that. You know, it's fucking precious.
Or aftercare. I mean, like Camilla, one of our guests, she uses it for aftercare. Like, that's where she reverts.
That'd be probably me too. But yeah, anyway, that's not for me. I do have to go, guys. It's been lovely. I would love to do this again.
We will have you back. Don't worry. You're fucked now. We're gonna keep you. So
it was also really cool to officially, like, talk to you, Jay. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right, guys.
Give them your socials one more time before you leave.
Okay. Freak.Like.Lee on TikTok. That's what I have for now. Keep if you want to look, just keep posted on there for when I have an Instagram and my website up. I'm working on it currently. Yeah, and I thank you guys so much. You guys, I was watching the chat. You guys are lovely and amazing. This community is amazing on here. And of course, thank y'all. I love everybody here. And yeah, okay. But
bye.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for coming, Lee. We'll talk soon.
Okay, perfect. I'm trying to figure out how to leave. Anyway.
Just hang up the call.
Just click the next button.
The next button. Okay, I think it's because this is embarrassing. Okay.
We're so professional. It's so good.
Oh,
there we go.
There's the webcam.
Why can I find the hang up? Oh, there.
I love it. She said, "Oh, there," as she was hanging up. That was so perfect.
Oh, there it. And I think you're gonna need to fix my webcam on stream. Then.
Yep, I'm gonna fix you right now while you're talking. I just have to find my pop out here real quick. Hold on 1 second. Woo. That's not what I need. Oh God, professional streamer.
Freak.Like.Lee.
There we go. Oh, look, I can make you big now. Hold on, let me make you a little. Oop,
I already came that way, but thank you.
Zing. All right. So now, I would love, again, especially since you have a house full of littles, I would love for your answer to the same question, if you don't mind terribly.
So you touched on something that's very important when it comes to giving these definitions. It's, whether or not it's that sexual aspect, and, whether or not it's DDLG versus age regression, which are also two different separate things entirely, because there's the age regression, then there's DDLG, then there's, non-sexual DDLG, and then sexual DDLG. And then we get into stuff like what's considered dark age play. And all of these things are so similar that it's hard to give a solid definition for it as well, because, safe for work and non-sexual age regression is something that is a coping mechanism that some people need. For some people it's uncontrollable and they regress to that younger age where they have that sense of safety and that sense of security where they can do things that comfort them and have someone that's able to watch over them and take care of them and be responsible for their safety while they're taking care of themselves. So there's just so much nuance to it that it's hard to give a great definition for it. But it's essentially, the submissive or person having someone and being in a relationship with a person that's there to take care of them. Much like how vanilla relationships, the partners are there for each other. Same thing here, the daddy dom, the mommy dom, whatever, is there for their little.
100%. Well, like that's, it's funny because part of for me, it crosses over a lot too. Like, some people know this. So like I met all of my partners, including Alice, on a dating site, which I'd love to actually figure out too. I'd love to talk to you about where you found your partners, because that's a big one where everybody's like, oh, where'd you meet? Because they want the secret sauce of like the polyamorous store where they can go in and like, I'll take one of these and one of the. It doesn't work that way. There's no magic sauce. But and mind you, Alice and I found Alice through a sugar daddy oriented site, and then we tried, every fucking website possible, including one called Gapper, which is spelled Gaper, which is very unfortunate for age gap. And people have had a negative connotation with that, because like, well, you're on a sugar daddy site, and it's like, no, wait a minute. There are people who use that site for SEGGS work, and that's fine. We're woke here, and nothing wrong with segs work. That's totally fine. But for me, daddy dom and old school man and sugar daddy and all those terms kind of go together. Like Mariah Carey married her sugar daddy. That was her husband, and he gave her a career. Fucking Marilyn Monroe married, and it used to just be marrying up, and then with me, maybe it's a millennial culture because people are so worried about toxic masculinity, but like, I like to provide a home for my partner. I like to take care of my partner. I like to help my partner grow. One of the things I promised Alice and every one of our girlfriends is like, hey, this might not be forever. If it is, great. But I'm a aware person. I'm happily divorced. I've seen it go whatever. And I'm always like, look, we might not love each other for the next 100 years, and that's okay. My thing is, I want to have an experience with you. I would love to get to know you. We want to connect. We want to see what happens. And worst comes to worst, I promise you that when you leave our relationship, if you leave the relationship, you will come out better than you came in. And I think as a man or as a dom or as anything, I feel like that's our responsibility, is that we should, so many toxic dudes leave like just a wake of destroyed women along the way. And I feel like, and that's one of the reasons why I appreciate the fact that you're so mature and well presented at 21, because it's where I felt like I was at your age. So I applaud you a lot for that. But I feel like that caretaker role is just missing. And that some people don't even realize that really DDLG can be as simple as, like, Alice does not identify as a little at all, but yet she's sitting here coloring. Like, she likes Disney movies. She likes to be cared for. She likes to have, and that's, some of it's as simple as that. And I think that I love you too. We as men, I feel, need to challenge ourselves to make sure that when we leave a partner, if we have to leave a partner, whatever. I mean, you've had your fair share of flings, and thankfully you've been out of your 4 serious relationships, you're still in 3, and I really do applaud you for that. Although you're 21, so
Give me time.
fingers crossed for you. But I'm just saying. But I think we need to make sure that we start trying to focus on maybe not when we have people in the chat all the time. Well, I'm just talking to Kink about my partner now. They've been with somebody for 5 or 10 years and they're just getting into kink. It's like these are conversations you should have initially. And if it ends up not working out, sometimes love isn't enough because kinks evolve and polyamory and all these different things. But we, whether submissive or dom, we need to leave our partner better than we found them. We don't need to have these toxic, horrific breakups. We don't need to have these things. And frankly, I think we as men, and especially if we're going to identify as a daddy or a dom even, really, we need to make sure that we're making their life better. It's one thing I think a lot of younger doms miss. They get so focused on the kink and not the responsibility. And especially you with 3 littles, I mean, littles take, the TikTok audio is great because it's like, well, submissives require more structure and more this and more that. I forget what all the quotes are in it. I feel like DDLG is that times 10.
It definitely can feel that way sometimes, yes.
In a good way. I mean, not in a bad way. It takes a specific type of mentality. It takes a very strong natured person to do that. And I think that some people also that identify as daddies have lost their own maturity to realize that, hey, like, you have to be there for them. So are all your partners littles, or is there middles in there, or is they all
so I think only one of them actually fully identifies as a little, and that would be Princess. But she actually doesn't call me daddy, but none of them really call me daddy just because that's just not the name that we've ended up having with each other. But I believe only Princess identifies as a little. Now, like you were saying for your partner, that, they don't identify as a little, but, they still have those characteristics, like, they all like to color, they all like to, watch Disney movies. And, it can just be something that's that simple for that caring relationship, but it's just, they don't identify as littles. Now, I still do identify as a daddy dom. It's just not something I'm a part of very often.
Hell, Gypsy insists she's not a little, but we were literally we hadn't updated our wish list in a while, and we've had these great people just sending us all this shit lately. We're like, oh fuck, we need to update this. And we got Binky sent in the mail. And who, mind you, like, she's taking pictures in onesies, and she's fine with the aesthetic, right? But she's always insisted throughout our entire relationship she's not a little. And then the Binky showed up, and she literally, her face lit up, and now she's just been constantly sucking on a Binky when she's sitting here, and I'm like, yeah, you're not a little at all. Just not. She's like, well, it's very comforting. I'm like, exactly. And it's okay. Like, people have this whole stigma around it because they think of the pedo thing. But, like, I mean, I hate to say it, and you're probably not, I'm not trying to speak of your age again, but, like, I remember when I was, like, 16, 17, that, like, cheerleader porn was the big thing. And it still is. But I mean, now it's, step bro. But, like, I mean, cheerleaders were always a thing, and I feel like part of that is, it's not a pedo thing, it's just we kind of some of us never got out of that thing. When we're in high school, that's where we develop a lot of our nature. You know, it was real sex for me on HBO back in the days where I started to realize about kink when I was about 13 and was watching these shows going, that looks interesting. Yeah, I can, yeah, sure. Yeah. But I feel like some of that stuff just carries over from high school. And the same thing, I mean, I hate to say it, but and my body count is a few hundred deep. I apologize for that. But I will say that, and maybe your experience is different, but you've had your fair share of play partners. I feel like most women, especially submissives, have at least a little bit of that little tendency to them. I mean, how many women love Disney? How many women love the color, love to be artistic, love to be cared for? Like, that's what people don't realize is how broad that term really can be, even if they don't identify as a little or say, well, I believe, I have to play like I'm 4. People get so focused on that age number idea without realizing that a lot of little, even dedicated littles don't specifically come out and say, well, I identify as a 4-year-old, right? Like that's, I want people to get away from that kind of thing, Um, There's another question I had for you, and now it's escaped me again. The brain's going. It's the glitter. The glitter is rotted. The glitter has rotted the brain, and I'm done now. So no, actually, I do have a. Do you don't have to out yourself? I'm not trying to dox you or anything like that, but I am curious just because I've started to be more open with this. Like, what do you do? I know you're in college, but like, do you well, actually, I guess you're in college, so that answers that question. What is your goal? Like after college, what is the plan for you? What is your hope for the career or whatever? I'm just always curious of where people want to go with life and their etc.
I'm a gymnastics coach.
Really?
I did gymnastics for 15 years before I got too broken to continue.
That's why you're so fit.
And that's why I'm so broken.
Yeah, football broke me. Football broke me. I am right there with you.
I don't give a shit about your weak ass football.
Hey now. But
y'all got protective gear. I broke my skull open.
A previously fractured vertebrae and 5 herniated discs beg to differ.
Oh
yeah, that's what fucked. I broke my spine my senior year playing high school football, and they never caught it until just recently. I had back surgery, and they figured out all my herniated discs, and they went, "Hey, did you fracture a vertebrae at one point?" I'm like, "Nobody told me." They're like, "Yeah, it's right here." I'm like, "Oh, that says a lot, both for the pain and the fact that my doctor sucked." Yes, you're raising your hand.
I
ran into something like that with my rotator cuff.
Work on my double back hamstring.
Oh, yeah, she's a.
I landed on my neck on a trampoline once in a bad accident.
Oh.
I went through like 6 months of physical therapy and haven't been able to do a back handspring, since. But
She's also she was on a dance crew.
Love to.
It took me about 5 years before I could do a backflip again after that, just because I got nauseous just thinking about it.
All you guys and your bendy shit. I nope. I was a fucking linebacker. All I did was hit people. I am not
bendy.
I wasn't bendy then, and I'm a lot less bendy now. Even theater, man. Like, I've got rhythm. I can dance. I've choreographed stuff, but like, God, I was in Rock of Ages. Like, literally, we were rehearsing a week after my back surgery. And within a week and a half of my back surgery, while we were rehearsing, I literally fell off the front of the fucking stage. And my fucking poor director just freaked out because she thought I was going to die. Meanwhile, I did the gymnastics thing, and I popped up like, nope, I'm good. We're good. And I'm just
fine.
Limping around going, no, it's fine. Just keep going.
It's fine. I promise I'm alive.
Yeah.
The show must go on.
My arm's out of socket. It's okay, though. We're just going to keep going. It's all right. I would love to know. So I would love to give you before we get into the Q&A, which is kind of where we're about kind of we tend to wrap up around 10 if that's all right with you. We tend to do, like I said, the last half an hour, 45 minutes is Q&A, and just let them rapid fire that shit off. But in the meantime, I would love to let you go on you already did a rant on safety, but I would love to let you kind of just roll for a minute. On any topic you want, something you want to cover, something you want to ask. If you have questions for me and Alice, you're welcome to, because obviously you and I have, we're just syncing up. I'm really glad you're here, honestly, just because, we had a few messages back and forth because of the other stuff, but like, I want to give you the kind of the next 10, 15 minutes just to direct the conversation or otherwise, however you like, sir.
So in combination of us talking about, what I do, and a conversation that we had earlier involving pedos. As a gymnastics coach, namely a male gymnastics coach, there's a lot of that stuff that goes around, like, the accusations getting flung. And this is, going back to like, the fake doms and stuff like that, and how it really loses its potency when it just gets tossed around everywhere. At my job, I have been accused of being a pedo solely because I was a male gymnastics coach spotting high bar. Now, if anyone's done gymnastics, these bars are 8-9 feet up, so I have to reach up and make sure, they're not going to die when they do their flyaway, their backflip off the bar. And this one mother comes up to me and she's like, "Hey, I don't like you being around my daughter. And I'm just like, okay, I can understand that, but why? What's going on? I don't like how you have to be touching them to spot them. I'm just like, ma'am, do you want your child to get hurt? No, I have to spot them. I have to, make sure they're going to be safe. And I have been in situations, one of my coaches when I was, growing up and on the team and stuff like that was an actual sex offender. And no one believed it at the time just because it gets tossed around so much with males in the gymnastics industry.
We have the best
And
words.
when all these, it's getting all jumbled up in my head now. But when all these accusations and stuff just fly around, they start to lose their meaning for the people that are actually hurting people. And it sucks.
Dude, it's and here's the thing is I don't want to be the person that cries about the plight of the cis white male, because I know that hell, even on Kink Talk, like when a lot of the negativity was going down, like there's a lot of attention brought to the fact that that I'm a cis white male. That it just like that's and I'm BLM, I'm a feminist, but like that also doesn't mean you like that we're the fucking enemy just because I'm white or because I was naturally born male, like, or that I'm dom. Like I hate the demonization of it. But the funny thing is you're different industry, but same problem, because I've worked as a photographer for so long. What
What if he's not white?
What
if he's not white?
Yeah, I'm assuming you're white. Are you not white? I apologize.
Oh, no, I'm white.
Okay.
No.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
Thank you for the concern, but I'm
sure.
about as white as paper. Thank you, though.
I mean, that's kind of where I was going with it, but yes, I shouldn't have assumed. I apologize.
No, I'm German and English pretty much all the way through.
German Jew right here, sir. But
You filthy stinking Jew.
yeah, no, I'm a stinking Jew. I know. But no, like, so I worked with models for years, and and inherently, when you work with people a lot, you end up dating people. So I caught shit for that. When I was in the burlesque world is holy shit anti-male. Like, my God, we were back when I was doing burlesque, we were literally the best in St. Louis. We were voted that by the paper, and we were seating 1,000 people a show when other people were seating like 25. And then we opened a theater, but it was immediately, oh, he's a male and he's got young dancers around him. Oh, he's a predator. Or God forbid, if I dated somebody, now mind you, they didn't bear in mind the fact that, like, hey, he owns the business, he does all the stuff, he's basically there 100 hours a week. Where the fuck else is he going to date somebody? But like, it's that same thing. Like, it's so common. It's like, I've seen parents, it's the same thing as like these parents who freak out and I've seen it happen. I've waved at a kid in the store before. Like, like, oh, hi, like, just, babies are cute. You wave or try to talk, whatever, while the mom's look. I've had mothers turn around and like freak out. I'm like, lady, I'm a father. I'm just waving to your kid. I'm not gonna fucking snatch him out of your Walmart cart, lady. Like, and it's
she waved first.
Yeah,
I wasn't gonna
literally.
make her cry.
Or because a lot of kids like to see the beard, so they see it and they react, and it's like, oh, whatever. And I don't know. If you've got an idea on how to fix it, I would love to hear it. But I hate it, because it's not like you and I can go on TikTok and be like, man, it sucks being a cis white male because everybody attacks us. But in the same token, like, I feel like this constant barrage of energy where it's like they use that as an insult is also not healthy either. Like, I don't know, but I don't know how to fix it. I mean, and I'm super LGBT supportive. Now, mind you, I'm personally not gay or bisexual. I had my one experience I've discussed before when I did a cuckold video, and I was the bull and I had that thing and couldn't function because it wasn't my thing, and that's it. Like, cool. I don't have a single bone in my body about that.
Embracing it.
But I'm sorry.
Embrace it.
Yeah, but I also was the guy who stopped my burlesque show in the middle of it because we had a male dancer come out who actually happened to be trans, female to male, and somebody in the crowd said fag loud enough to hear it, and then said it one more time before I could even do anything, and we literally stopped the show dead. and I escorted a group of 20 people out because their one friend was a dick. So it's like,
As you should.
As you should, exactly. But it's just, I hate the assumption that like you as a male gymnastics coach or as a male dom with who's in the DLG, or me as a photographer or or content producer, otherwise, just immediately like, oh, you're the devil. Nope, you're fucking. There's something wrong with you. An age gap is the worst.
So sadly, the problem is that these stereotypes, these assumptions don't come out of nowhere. They just don't magically appear. The problem is with this is that it's seen frequently. For example, recently, like, the female gymnastics Olympic coach, and from one of the M-state colleges, I believe, both of them were taking advantage of their athletes, and some of them were not of age. And, these are straight cis white men. And so the thing is that these do come from experience and, seeing these people exposed for it. And I'm not going to say that's what a lot of it is, but it's sadly more common than I would care to admit that it ends up being this way, that these stereotypes do come from a basis in reality. And the only way to really fix it is just to prove that you're not that.
Which is sometimes hard because if it's like I don't want to get into politics, but it's almost the same way as Trump operates. Trump was very good about love him, hate him, whatever. I mean, I'm not going to get into it because it's not a political podcast, but like he hit those buzzwords. He hit and for people who catch on to it, it's the same thing with us. So like, oh, Joe Biden's a pedophile. No proof, but then the fucking right just ran with it. Right? It's the same thing. Oh, this guy's a predator. And the problem is that even if it's harder to come back from that, and it brings me to another point. So you have a 29-year-old partner, 28-year-old partner, 29, you said?
29. She turns 30 in 2 months.
Happy birthday early to her. The other two are how old, if you don't mind my asking?
21 and 21. The three of us are all within, okay, so Princess's birthday is the end of the year. But me and Vix are 3 months apart. Me and Princess are 7 months apart. 7 months.
So, and I want to pose this question to you because I feel like you would have firsthand knowledge, and it's and pardon me for baiting you into this conversation, but I'm curious. So
no worries.
It's also because you're 21 yourself, and I'm sure that as much as I'm trying to compliment your age and make a big point of it, which I hope you don't take as an insult because I really do think it's impressive. I think maturity and your level of intelligence at any age is impressive, but I think the fact you've only been 3 years deep and you're where you are is awesome. That being said, and I'm sure you've even dealt with it as a dom where people are like, well, I'm sure they've tried to gatekeep you because of your age. But so that's part of it. And I'm curious actually to know what experience you've had with it. But additionally, what I want to draw attention to, and I'm curious of your opinion on it, is so your 21-year-old partners and you have a healthy relationship. You have a healthy dynamic. You do kink 24/7. Yes, you don't do high protocol. It's fine. Neither do I. And I feel like it's more accepted, and they're not going to view you as a predatory person because you're their age. And I think that once you're 21, especially women who mature faster than men, it's consensual. But I feel like there's automatically a stigma with me being 37. With my partners, who Alice is 25, she was in the Austin scene for 7 years, and she was heavily involved in the Austin scene. The other two partners have 3 years experience, but it's immediately because of the age gap, they don't know what they're doing. Now, mind you, if I was 23, I feel like they wouldn't say a fucking thing, but purely because I'm older, it's immediately assumed that it's bad. And I'm curious because the fact that you are that age and you've dealt with the gatekeeping yourself. I'm kind of curious your opinion on that and any experiences you've had.
So before I jump into the gatekeeping part of it, I find it funny that you talk about, so you have, I'm just doing some quick math, 12-year age gap, so on and so forth.
12 and 16.
I don't know the age of
12 and 16.
Okay, so and up to that. And, people are, they're coming at you and saying that, you're taking advantage of them. I have not seen a single person say that Astrid's taken advantage of me because of our age gap. Not a single one.
Valid point. It's always it's white male thing again.
I don't know if it's a male thing or a dominant thing. I'm not sure which it is. Whether it's people, putting the power in the hands of the male, which is inherently not always true, or saying that, dominants are the only ones that have say or control or power, which is also inherently not true either.
Very false, yeah.
Yeah, it's all within the dynamic, and that dynamic wouldn't have started if they didn't get along in the first place. But I'm not sure which the stigma applies to, whether it's being a man or being a dominant, because you and I are both of those.
Well,
But
I mean, if I may, I think it's being a man, because if you think about it this way, when it comes to the inappropriate teacher-student thing, right? If it's a male teacher and a female student, it is awful. It's the worst thing in the fucking world. Even if that, or God forbid, even when it comes down to, if it's an 18-year-old male and a 16-year-old girl, which could be as simple as senior and sophomore, or even senior and junior, really, depending on where the birthdays are.
When they were born, yeah.
Which is part of the problem with stat rape laws, personally, is because they're so broad that it a lot of times, and hell, there was a whole thing on, not that MTV does great TV by any means, a lot of their fetish stuff is trash. It's one of the reasons why we're trying to work with TLC to see if we can get a show going about real polyamory and kink. But they did a whole show on, it was True Life, I'm a Sex Offender. And like the three people they referenced, one of them was 18, and it was 18. The girlfriend was 16. The age of consent in the state was 17. They were both in high school. They'd been dating for 2 years, but then they broke up and the girl reported them. And then one of the other ones was similar age gap, but the parents found out, didn't like the fact that they were having sex, and reported them. And these kids are fucked basically for the rest of their lives. And like, and it ties in that same thing. Whereas like, if it was now mind you, I'm sure it could still happen, but if it was a 16-year-old dude with a senior girl, everybody's like, "Hey, bro, great fucking job." Same thing with teachers. If the student is a boy, everybody's like, "That kid's a fucking stud. Good for him." You're like the one. There was the story about the two teachers that had the threesome with the student. Everybody's like, "Fuck yeah, I give my kid a pat on the back. Way to be." Blah 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 blah. If it had been the other way, it's immediately, "Oh God, it's fucked," which is so weird. Because women do inherently mature faster than men. And not that I'm saying a 21-year-old should be with a 16-year-old. I'm not saying that in general. But I'm just saying that double standard is the same way. I don't think it has anything to do with dom sub. I think it's very much, it's a cougar thing. I mean, like, cougar culture is a lot more applauded typically than age gap with a male. Because it's either he's a predator or he's a sugar daddy. And not a sugar daddy in taking care of his partner, providing a lifestyle, helping them grow, whatever. It's immediately like, and we get it all the time. Oh, he's paying him. How much do you pay him? What drugs do you give him? Whatever. And it's like, no, I mean, mind you, we're creating a business together. Is that paying them that we're creating something together, and I'm helping my partner start a life and an income and build their, like, it's that stigma of being a male, I think, to interject. But anyway, please go back to your topic. But I wanted to interject. I really do think it's not, we're both male and we're both doms, but I think the dom part has a lot less to do with it. Because if you were submissive and she was 29, I don't think anybody would bat an eye either.
I think you're right. I don't think anyone would have batted an eye if the roles were reversed. But yeah, I just don't think of any. I don't think she's ever brought it up either. But I don't think anyone's ever said anything about our age gap. But to be fair, most people don't actually know how old she is. Everyone thinks she's younger just because she looks younger. But
yeah, I didn't know you. I've looked at the stuff of your content I've looked at. I wouldn't have gathered. I kind of assumed you guys were all pretty close in age there.
I mean, yeah, she looks younger, and you were shocked to find out that I was 21 just a few days ago. So
I pegged you for 25 to 28, honestly. Like, I knew you weren't over 30 unless you had really good genes. But I definitely didn't peg you for, like, just
I get 23 is the most common one that I get.
The facial hair helps, though. I mean,
yeah, if I get rid of this, I turn 12.
Yeah,
like,
even me, even as fucked as many wrinkles as I have, I guarantee if I shave this beard off, they'd be like, "Oh my God, you're like 22." I was joking with Alice today that my first time winning at the horse races, I like to gamble a little bit. I went with my parents and I was betting all night as a 20-year-old because I had facial hair, and they're like, "Oh, they didn't even card me, nothing." Until I fucking won $1,500. My parents had to go claim it for me because of the taxes. And I'm like, I won! Here, Mom. Go turn this in for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Mom. Appreciate it.
Thanks for paying those taxes for me. Appreciate that. But no, like I said, I would like to know too about the gatekeeping you've dealt with, because I feel like we catch it so much more than otherwise. And I want, the reason why I want to bring it up is gatekeeping's bad. We know that, but I know that people in our chat deal with it the same way. Whether it's sometimes it's for age, sometimes it's for their own kinks. Which I wanted to mention. You know, I think Lee said it so great that like, don't yuck anybody's yum. And I'm the big one is like, you don't have to fit into a box. Like, put yourself in a cage, that's fine. Put them in a box, that's your kink. But like, you don't have to fit your kinks into a box. You know, whatever
Correct.
you're into is valid. You know, if you really like spanking somebody's foot and you find a partner who's into it, cool, great, whatever.
Go for it.
You spank that foot. You do it.
Go after that foot.
Be the
Show
best
that foot
foot
who's boss.
spanker you can be. Exactly. You know, or case in point, I mean, like as long as you're doing things, and I'm not SSC or rack, but as long as you're just doing things consensually, I think that's what matters. That was my big thing with the real life on MTV's Real Life I Have a Fetish, is they only addressed two people. One of them was a pro-dom, which I have no problem with pro-doms. My issue with it is that she was a pro-dom for her job, but in her day-to-day life, she was vanilla. She actually admitted she had no kink. She didn't like kink. She had nothing to do with it. She just did it for a job, which is like, okay, well, then you're not kinky. You don't have a fetish. You have a job, first of all. Which there's a problem in our industry a lot of women who go, I'm a findom, who have nothing to do with findom. They just think they're going to find some dopey idiot to give them money, which they probably will, truth be told. The other guy was a foot fetishist, but he wasn't consensual about it. Like, he would just walk up to random girls in the bar and go, can I worship your feet? And was like creepy about it. And then met a girl online. She came down to visit him, and it's all on, you know, MTV, and like got her foot tattooed on his arm on their first time visiting long distance. And then like literally it shows an update. They broke up 2 weeks later. It's like, motherfucker's got her foot on his arm forever. Now, like it was really,
but though
it was such a shit representation of kink. It was so bad. And that's what we deal with. We either get that, or we get the one that Alice and I joke about, because we've been watching Criminal Minds. We've been binging Criminal Minds, and there's been now 2 episodes dealt with kink. One of them, I know I'm rambling. One of them, the guy was like fantasizing about bondage, and it was like it was showing his drawings, and that he fantasized about tying girls up in a thing, and we're like, that looks fun. He killed them afterwards. That part's bad, but the rest of it was very normal. And then the most recent one, they referenced this guy who was acting out a series of books and was murdering people with it, but it was very much 50 Shades of Grey-ish. And the one thing I will give them credit for is that they went to a munch, actually, and talked to people. To learn. And they very much addressed that, like, the lady there who was running the munch was like, yeah, we've had a lot of people that, you know, just dive in and don't know what they're getting into because they read the book. And I'm like, oh, that sounds familiar. So anyway, I went off topic. So gatekeeping and what you've dealt with and etc.
So we talked about this at the beginning of the stream, but I've run into very little gatekeeping due to age in person. All the gatekeeping that I have seen and run into personally has mostly come from the online communities. But when you're in a in-person community, I almost said real life, but like, you know, COVID and all that. Woo. When you're in an in-person community, there's very little gatekeeping when it comes to age. There's like, you know, there's the age restrictions that are, you know, like, oh, we only want people over 21 at this event because there's going to be alcohol there and we don't want to, you know, lose a license or whatever like that. You know, that's not gatekeeping. That's the law. Or like, you know, we don't want anyone under the age of 18. That's not gatekeeping. That is a law. But I've never run into anyone in person that's like, you're 18, you're 19, you shouldn't be doing kink, you're too young for this. All of the places that I've been active, people, as long as you were over the age of 18, obviously, but they didn't care about your age, you know, when you were born. It all came down to what they referred to as your kink age. I don't know if anyone else uses that term, but, you know, how long you've been in the scene and what all you've done in the scene. So probably one of my favorite interactions was last year. Oh, shoot, now. It was probably like, you know, 18 months ago now. I was at a local munch and this new person comes in, never seen him there before, and he was brand new, and he was in his mid to late 50s. And he was an absolute blast to talk to. He was just getting involved into kink, and I'd been in it a few years, and everything was just going along swimmingly because your actual age did not matter. It was just your experience and the kind of person you were. And those were some of my favorite interactions.
And see, I applaud you. I'm glad you've had that in-person experience, because that's one of the things I've tried to drive home. And I feel like social media is good and bad for both ways, because you have so many keyboard warriors out there who, if they tried to pull that shit at a munch, and you've been the munches, or if they tried to pull that in the public scene or the in-person scene, it wouldn't be tolerated, because at least in my community before it imploded, the big thing was you communicated, you spoke openly, you when you vetted a person, it was because you had an interaction with them, and if you had a dispute with that person, you talked about it. It wasn't this culture of just making accusations or otherwise. I mean, hell, we even had somebody that tried to say we were banned from the community, and then we went back and I went and talked to somebody that I met in person, God, probably 20 times. He came to my events. He was one of the people that was over 40 that I let come because he was so knowledgeable and so involved with the community. On every board, every event for like the last 30 years. And I'm like, hey, was I banned? Like, did I miss something? He's like, no. He's like, some people don't like the fact you date younger women, but that's really about it. He's like, you've never had a problem. I've been to your events. I'm like, okay, that's what I thought. And I went and showed that. I showed it to Lee, because she was in some of those chats, and it still was something where people were saying like, well, this is what I heard. It's like, no. And
it's not true.
I wish the social media side would tie back to that honor and ethics. I feel like we as men in general should have more honor and ethics and quality. But I feel like, especially when it comes to this, we need to carry a certain demeanor, and I applaud you for your neutralness on that. All right, so
I don't know if you were around for the Repairman 67 drama, but neutrality is something I prefer to.
I never heard about it. Like, I never. So I'm actually curious. Actually, before we get into the Q&A, because I know he's a massive creator.
That's something we can go into the details of, most likely off stream.
Okay, I am curious about it, just because. And he was one who, when some of the bullshit was happening with me, he actually had addressed me, and I'm like, fuck is this guy? And also I'm like, oh fuck, he's got 1.6 million followers. Of course, he's good looking and alternative.
Is he at 1.6 mil?
He's over 1 million. I don't know what it was. I think it was 1.6. I thought he's super up there.
Last I checked, he was at 1.3, but I could just be out of date.
It might be 1.3. You might be right. And he said too, it's one of those things where, I hate to say it, I don't want to give anybody credit that called us out, but the negativity helped us too. Like we talked about choking earlier. And as much as we do get pushback on choking videos, they're also the ones that blow up the most. We'll get a couple 100,000 views on most of our shit, which is still great. If I get over 10K on anything, especially with shadow bans and everything else, I am ecstatic. But I can go back and look at it, and like the day we posted, we were going through our analytics, and the day we posted another choking video where we're like, yes, this is what we do. Yes, da-da-da-da. That fucker's gotten 1.2 million or 1.3 million. And we got over 2 million views that day total. And we spiked, I think, 30,000 followers. And it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know if it's because nobody else is talking about it, or if it's because so many negative comes out of it too that we just get it both ways. But whatever works. But yeah, I would love to talk to you about that. Just 'cause I'm curious. I never heard about the drama that happened. Obviously, he wasn't canceled, so that's neither here nor there. But that's something we can discuss.
That's just how it resulted. Yeah, no one was canceled.
I'm just, so I would ask you, like, just out of curiosity, is it like close to the Beg for Jay thing, or a different situation altogether?
Ooh, so probably in terms of the severity of accusations, I would put it at the same level, but what has been publicly disputed, I would not say the same level, because Beg for Jay, everyone that knows his history and the whole, the exposing of everything that happened behind the scenes with him, in addition to what he was like publicly, was just a piece of dumb garbage. Yeah. If we want to even give that as much of a compliment as that is. But
Which I hate, because I mean, his videos that he made, his short videos were good. I mean, like, they weren't, at least from a cinematography standpoint. It was. I see why he blew up until everybody figured out what the fuck he was. But yeah, so if it wasn't,
but no, Beg for Jay is leagues above anything, because Beg for Jay, some of the stuff that he did, he should absolutely be in jail. I don't believe he ever served time, but
no, it's funny because I was talking to one of my partners about him, and they're like, "Who's this?" Because Alice had heard of him, I had heard of him, the girls hadn't, and we tried to pull. I mean, his shit's gone everywhere. Like,
I didn't even like what I saw.
He got smoked. She didn't like what he saw. The only reason why I liked it is I'm a film nerd, so I liked what he did, and I love Sinatra, so if you can make Sinatra mixed with Kink, I'm all fucking for it. But then the rest of it made it terrible. So anyway, guys, we've got about 30 minutes left, and we are here now. I want to go straight into Q&A. I want you guys to rapid fire questions for me, for Alice, obviously for Jayce. I would love hopefully Jayce to have you back, because I think that, I mean, obviously, again, your opinions are super strong.
Now that you have me on Discord, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of.
Yeah,
TikTok messaging is trash.
Yeah, it is. And I'll message you on Discord, because I would love to even have a conversation with you about maybe planning out a podcast in the future with some specific topics for people. And getting into stuff. Obviously, this week's going to be a little wonky, because come Tuesday, this fucker is getting gutted. So we don't know how long the PC will be down for, but I am done fucking around.
Yeah, and I've got Christmas break coming up, so I'm pretty much going to be out of commission not this upcoming week, but the week after, until like the 7th of January.
Ain't the holidays grand? Oh, you know what? Before we get into questions that's a good one. Before we get into questions from our people. And I'll tie it into two. So Purple Joker asked if your subs are all collared, and which then I would add to that, what is your opinion on collars as far as levels or otherwise? That's two questions. My third one that I'm going to tie in is how open with your family and the partner's families are you? How much do they know? How much have you discussed? That's a big question we always get, is what are the families thinking otherwise? So I'd love to present those three to you.
Okay, so I'll just go ahead and answer it in order. So first, Purple Joker question. Two of my partners are collared. Vixen, who I have been together, on and off, just because, high school, college, she moved out of state, whatever else. We've been together since freshman year of high school, so coming up on 8 years now. And Princess, her and I have been dating 3 years in just a month. So those are the two that are collared. I don't even consider collaring anyone, any sooner than a year, just because for me and my dynamics, collaring is a big commitment and a big step to make. So what that also translates to is no, Astrid is not collared. So I have 2 collared submissives and 1 not collared. And I have heard about collaring levels, or however you want to call it. I do agree that there are different kinds of collars, and they all have their own meaning. And I'm assuming that's what you're referring to when you're talking about levels of collars.
Kind of. I mean, so I don't want to interrupt your answers, but yeah. So like, for me, some people believe that like a collar is an engagement ring, or some people go, well, we're going to start you with a leather collar, and then you're going to do this, you're going to do that. For me, and I think your opinion is 100% valid. I'm totally down for that. For us, and Alice included, for me, the collar means that we're in a committed relationship. Like, it's the same. This is girlfriend. Like, once you go past dating and it becomes girlfriend, partner, we're planning a future, we're doing this, that's when the collar comes into me. Now, obviously, if we get another level engagement or otherwise, I would probably get them a fancier collar. But some people have beliefs that you should have a system, and I was just kind of curious where you were on that. You kind of answered it with the fact that you don't collar until a year in. Now, mind you, I don't say, okay, you're here, you're going to be my girlfriend now, day one, here's your collar.
Yeah, you make sure there's a stability to it. Because I know some people do the training collars for people that are in training as submissives, or the trial collars where it's, in that trial period of the relationship. And I respect the people that do it, and I understand why they do it. For me, that's just too much. Not something that I would do. So I just save my collars to be the equivalent of the engagement ring, like you had referenced earlier. So that's pretty much the only collar I give out in terms of like, with an actual intent behind it. Like, there's the little gift collars that you'll give people just because they're cute or whatever. But those are the only ones that I give out with that kind of romantic relationship dynamic intent.
Perfect. And then as far as the family knowing you're the kink or poly or otherwise.
So for the poly, I'm extremely open with my family about it because, well, if you don't know, I'm a mama's boy, so I have to tell my mama everything. I hated hiding things from her, so I've just flat out told her. And now when it comes to like, the adult work, the sexy work, all that stuff, and, the kink, I have alluded to it. And when I was telling them, what I was doing over, COVID and what I still do now, and I was like, hey, because, I needed tax advice because I'd never paid taxes like that before. And my dad and mom were both accountants. So I was like, okay, we need to sit down and have
Actual
a chat.
Accountants, not
Here's
accountants. Why. Go ahead.
And, actual accountants. Yeah, CPAs. And I was going to I had an accounting major in business school before I started, but I didn't know enough to do it comfortably. And I was like, okay, so here's the basics of what I do. You can ask questions and I will not lie to you. Do what you want with that information. And since then, my mother doesn't ask any questions. Because I have this thing, I will not lie. I may, not answer the question, whatever else, but I will not lie. So if you ask me a very straightforward question, you're going to get the truth. My mother hates that.
I've had the same with my mother. Well, it's funny because I joked about before that I remember being in high school and my mom finding my box of toys that I had bought from Spencer's, good old Spencer's. And one of the things was a big black plastic vibrator. She's like, that big black fucking dildo. Is that what your girls like? That what they She went on a whole tirade when I was 18. And back when I got started in the segs work, there was a whole conversation we had once where she had found it. She's like, why is it all about clits? It's licking clits, it's not clits, click, 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 click. And now, aside from her not being able to say kinky fucker, like she just can't, she can't manage the words. Like the only conversation we had was like, okay, well, how many advent calendars do you need? Because every year she gets us an advent calendar. She's like, all right, well, how many girls are there now? Which is fun. But I mean, my parents thankfully are supportive, and I feel like you might have it a little easier, kids today. But I feel like, my parents are 65 years old.
My parents are both in their late 50s.
Oh, so so it's kind of
my parents are very close in age.
Yeah. Which is, they grew up in the hippie days, so they've got a little bit of that mentality there, but it's still always fun to challenge that. Somebody else had the question, which is good, I think, for you to answer, and they asked it for Alice too. Dealing with jealousy, communication, otherwise, in the poly relationship, and I will add a caveat to that for you because Alice and I just did a video on it. Do you have a good way to explain to somebody if trying poly might be right for them? Now, to give you a little insight, our explanation was, hey, if you can imagine being in a club or wherever, and your partner is holding somebody else's hand and whispering to them being close, and you wouldn't feel jealous in that situation, you're probably okay with poly. If you're not okay with that, but you're okay with watching them do things with somebody else, then you might be more oriented towards open relationships, swinging, etc. Because poly is both sexual intimacy,
romantic
yes,
and
but also,
sexual.
Yeah, romantic, exactly. But yeah, so I love your two answers for those.
I mean, yeah, that's actually that's a pretty good way of like putting that that hypothetical question out there. Are you here just for the sex because you want to be there with be with multiple people and you like watching them be with other people, or are you there for that that actual relationship aspect where if they go out on a date, will it bother you that they are out on a nice candlelit dinner saying these sweet nothings to each other and you're not there? Is that going to bother you? That's yeah. Are you there for the whole relationship or are you just there for the physical aspects?
And then do you deal with any jealousy in your current poly dynamic? Or is it more like Like, we don't deal with jealousy so much as obviously insecurity, because women are
Mhm.
women, and oh, is she prettier than me? Is she whatever? But like, do you deal with any jealousy? Do you have any tips for people on how to overcome that?
So I do not experience, it's like you were saying, and I have these insecurities as well as a man. Like, I don't have any jealousy. I do have my insecurities of, is this person better than me? Is that person something that they find themselves more attracted to? And, in my head, like, I know that, we're poly, we've been together for years. And I'm okay with them being with other people as well. But those insecurities, they're insecurities. You can't control them. They just would pop up and slap me in the face. And I would sit down with my partners and we would talk about what we needed from each other when those insecurities pop up. And so I guess the biggest answer is communication. Figure out what's bothering you, why it's bothering you, and how your partners can help.
Do you
And I also really enjoy watching my partners be together. That's something called compersion, and I love when my partners are being happy with each other. I like seeing it.
I love that as well. That's one thing, is like, I try to, because people comment a lot, and you probably get it too, the harem thing, because it's it's a male centered household. But the thing
Yeah.
is, for me, is it's not all about me. Like, I like seeing my partners cuddle. I'm glad I'm going to use that compersion. I didn't know it was a word. I like seeing my partners cuddle. I like seeing them develop that relationship, that friendship. It's not all about me, and that's I think that's important. Which I was going to ask you too. Do your partners have other? Because we get this comment a lot, or this question a lot. Do your partners have
Partners
other?
have partners.
Well, do they have other? Well, partners, yes. But do they have other doms, or like in our particular household, like Alice has a male sub. She calls him Tool Bag. And I've expressed, that we'd have that. We tend to have we're not a one penis household, we're a one dom household. Just because I feel like, me personally, I think if you're going to establish a long-term family dynamic with those elements, too many doms becomes too many chiefs, not enough Indians, and there can be a power struggle, and etc. Maybe that's just me, but I'm just curious if your partners have other partners, but more specifically if they have other doms, or if you would allow them to have other doms.
The dynamic aspect.
Yeah.
So to kind of touch on how you were talking about how we both have what seemingly is these male-centric households, like one guy, three girls, as the cases are. Then it just seems that way because in my case, and I guess technically in your case as well, we're the big faces of our relationships because we are these social media people, these TikTokers, these streamers, these all that stuff. So everyone's like, oh, he's the main character in their relationship, whatever. But if you actually spend time in that relationship, for example, mine, the main character, if you will, would be Vixen, who I consider my primary. So Vixen is a switch. She has her dominant, which is me. She has her submissive, which is Princess, because me and Vix will co-dom Princess. And Vixen also has I don't want to say partner, but more someone that she's, I guess, courting outside of our relationship, who is actually Astrid's girlfriend. So there's a lovely little extra triangle there, who she switches with. So Vixen, the switch, has her dominant, she has her switch, and she has her submissive. It makes like a little envelope. It's a box with a little triangle in it. I have a whole little picture dedicated for when people ask.
And see, that makes complete sense. That to me makes sense. I mean, but are you of the same idea though, that it's like, would you be? Because I personally would not be open to a male dom, and I've had this conversation with my partners. I I'm just not. I wouldn't be comfortable with another male dom in this relationship. Do you hold the same opinion, or would you be open to that, or what is your thought?
So a big thing of it can come down to sexuality as well. So, for example, you had told me that you had told the whole stream as well that you're straight and you've tried it and it's just not your thing, and that's okay. You do you, not you're yum. But I think that can also play a big part of it as well, because, for example, if I have played so I guess to answer your question simply, yes, there can be too many DOMs in the same way that there can also be too many subs.
Yes, 100%.
So, if there's too many Indians for this chief to handle, there's a problem. But if there's, not enough worker bees and too many queens, that's also an issue. So there's that when it comes down to balance. if you're in a dynamic, not necessarily with that dom, but your submissive has both of you doming. What I have done in the past is I have not really played with them, but I've worked with them and tag teamed with them and had that kind of fun. So if you can manage it, if these two dominants are getting along well and working well together, it can go well in the same way that the submissives have to get along in order for it to be smooth sailing. So it kind of comes down to that, how the dynamic and how the relationship is formed.
I love that answer, and I always love the question that I get a lot of, like, well, are you guys looking for more partners? Are you looking for, and like we've had, ever since we've been on TikTok, we've had a few people that have expressed interest in coming to visit, coming to create. A few. Well,
you and I both know it's more than a few.
Yeah, God. I mean, like I joked the other day because there's a couple ladies we're talking to that we've began to be like, okay, look, if you want to come visit and explore it, and they're creators too. It's like, well, worst comes to worst, you want to come here, we'll create, we'll see what happens. Like, cool. Now, mind you, that's like 3 out of the 150 fucking offers we've gotten. And I always love that question though, because it's like, well, it's not like we have a set number. Like, okay, we have 3 and we're done. In the same, or we need 1 more. Like, we don't have that set. In the same token, I mean, we're not going to ever have like a dozen, because that's some Heaven's Gate shit that I don't feel like I could handle anyway. I mean, I hate to say it. Maybe you just. I feel like a foursome, or at very most, I think 6 people total, is a really good number, because especially even numbers are always better, because it's really hard for anybody to feel left out.
Everyone's got the buddy system.
Yeah, it's a buddy system, and I feel like too, if you get to once you get past, and even 6 is a lot, but like, I feel like anything past that would be insane, but I feel like 6 could be manageable, especially like if you have a switch. Alice is she's a switch also, although, and she's, I would say she's the alpha sub, she's the assistant manager. Obviously that helps. I think that I say it all the time. I mean, Alice is, I don't use primary anymore, because I don't want to say there's a hierarchy in the relationship. There's a hierarchy in the kink, but she is 100% my fucking rock. If I didn't have her here to like be that barrier,
Astrid uses the term anchor partner.
Anchor partner's awesome. She's my level head. She's my one that kind of and helps bridge that gap. So I find it funny that you kind of have that. That's what I'm glad you're here, because it seems like some of that stuff we have some crossover. Somebody asked who the bells are. The bells are the rest of Alice and I's relationship. Alice is one of the bells. The other ones are not here currently. Okay, so Little Brat Kitty Cat asked Jace, any thoughts, advice on using FetLife? Seems very controversial on TikTok. And then also, by the way, because the question that got asked 4 times, and we've already had a couple people answer, but I do want to get your opinion on safe words, both what you use verbally, and then any advice for nonverbal or drop objects, or like just what you use there, because we've had that question pop up about 6 times while we were talking.
So verbal, we just run with for traditional scenes, we run with the standard traffic light system, red, yellow, green, those regulars. We have separate safe words dedicated for other things, such as, for example, of the things that are consensual of the non-consensual ideology.
You can say CNC.
The CNC. We have a separate safe word solely dedicated for, the stop in that situation. But that one's just orange. But I know I know there's blue, and there's a purple one as well that other people use. But those are just the verbal safe words that we use. When it comes to nonverbal, we use the drop and a tap out system. So 2 taps is the equivalent of, the combination of red and yellow, stop, get off, something needs to change. And for the drop system, we use a bell or like a bouncy ball.
Nice.
And you just chuck it or drop it. And that's the same, just stop.
I used
that's our safe system.
I've used a clothespin, but I like the bell idea. especially because that's such a thing. Alice, they want to see what you were coloring.
I'm kind of curious too.
And Jay is also curious. And then also the other question for you that Little Brat Kitty Cat had asked Jace was if you had any thoughts on FetLife or any advice on using it.
So the thing about the FetLife is just like most things in kink, actually, nothing is ever black and white. Everything is, I'm not going to say shades of gray, but not everything is black and white.
That's a bad word. We don't use gray. No. Go ahead. Sorry.
FetLife is, so it's not necessarily controversial. It's more of mixed reviews because people don't view FetLife as a whole. FetLife for dating, now explicitly, FetLife for dating is bad. FetLife for finding events is pretty good. It's probably one of the best sites that I've come across to find reliable, safe kink events. Definitely one of the better ones. Find people to talk to in your local area? Meh. Depends on what gender you are and how hot you are. But no, it's definitely mixed reviews, but you have to approach it not as a whole as a website. It's fantastic for finding events and local groups. It's okay for finding play partners. It's pretty bad for finding relationships.
Where did you find your partners? That was a question we never got back to earlier, but because I gotta tell you,
people hate me for my answer.
There's not a good dating site for kink or poly. There's just not.
Oh no, there's not.
There's not. Even
people always ask me.
Even Seeking was terrible. It was. I mean, mind you, we've had good luck with it, but that was good luck. 1 out of 150. I mean, Tinder is nothing but basically unicorn hunting. So I would love your. Which Alice used to be a professional unicorn. I would love your answer. 100%.
So people always hate my response to this because everyone's coming. You know this. Where can I find Dom? Where can I find a sub? Where can I find a poly relationship? Someone to join my poly, and they expect some kind of app or website or something like that, but that just doesn't happen. Because I found my partners just through living my life, and that's what I tell everyone. For example, Vixen, she was my first girlfriend ever. That's why I refer to her as the primary, because she was quite literally my first girlfriend ever. Met her freshman year of high school because we were in the same friend group, and we've just been together ever since. Princess, I met her freshman year of college. We were part of the same friend group. We met at a football game. My ex-girlfriend, Angel, she found me on Instagram back when I was an Instagram, I guess, kink person, whatever. And
God, that platform's fucking died. Go ahead. Sorry.
She found out that we went to the same school. And, she just stumbled across me on her Discover page. And she's like, hey, we go to the same school. And we started chit-chatting. And then, we lived 5 minutes away from each other. And so, things went on from there. And then Astrid. Oh, okay, Astrid's the funniest one. So I'd been following Astrid since TikTok was Musical.Ly. I've been following Astrid for 3 years on Musical.Ly and TikTok all combined because I loved all of her cosplay stuff, yada, yada, yada. And then one day I got a notification that we were following each other, and her and I get into arguments in this on our lives all the times. But at the end of the day, she subscribed to my friends only. Then I subscribed to hers. We started playing video games together at night, and then we just decided to say, fuck it. I went down there, we collabed, and now we're dating.
Nice. I hate your answer. I do hate your fucking answer. Because I'm good for you, but I hate your fucking answer.
Everyone hates my fucking answer. Everyone hates my answer.
Especially got in COVID, that's almost that kind of thing is impossible. I mean, I will say, and maybe you've already kind of alluded to it, Alice and I worked real hard to find the partners we had, and we had a lot of bad experiences along the way. And I find it hilarious, though, now that we're so public with it on TikTok and we've blown up on TikTok, now they're just coming out of the fucking woodwork. It's where the fuck were you 6 months ago when we were, dealing with crazy toxic ladies? What the fuck?
And you had touched on this earlier, just kind of in passing. I don't know if anyone really caught anything about it, but you were talking about these people that you were talking to, and they are other creators as well. Ever since a long time ago, there was an incident. I say incident; it wasn't that bad. It was I was at 60,000 followers on my first account before it got banned, And, I let it get to my head a little bit. There was this cute girl, her and I were talking, but, it just didn't work out. She got offended by that. The whole thing blew up, whatever. And since then, it's just been like, okay, at this point, if they know who I am on TikTok and they aren't if they know me through TikTok or anything like that, I will not consider a relationship with them unless they are another creator, just because it's a whole ordeal.
Oh no, I 100% agree. I mean, at this point, we've kind of already made the point to ourselves is whether TikTok creator or otherwise, unless you're at least seriously considering doing sex work, or you've done it already, or you're in some realm of that sphere, we can't even do it, because it's not fair to bring you into a lifestyle where that's literally what we do. I mean, mind you, I have a day job. I'm in the corporate world and I make good money at it. But I hate to say that we're probably going to end up doing a lot more with what we're doing with this money wise. And we can't really, unfortunately, we can't even afford to consider a partner that wouldn't be a part of that. We can't afford to consider a partner that can't be public with it, because it's where we're at.
It's just so much.
Yeah, which is now a whole other demon we have to deal with, versus just being like, hey, we're poly. Although and maybe it's different, but I feel like it's the same thing. Like, you as a guy, you probably dealt with this. Like, if you have a girlfriend, you're immediately more attractive to other women. because it's the old adage back from, when I was a teenager, like, well, if you have a girlfriend, you're more attracted to women because they feel like, well, if that girl can put up with you, you might be okay, especially if that girl is attractive. I feel like poly is the same thing. Like, if you're a couple and you're looking for your third, you're immediately a unicorn hunter, whether you are or not. But once you already have the family, people are like, oh, that looks so great. That looks so awesome. The same dynamic was there before, but they didn't see it. And I feel like it's that same kind of crossover.
That, and when we were starting as creators, our partners were there the whole time, and they just kind of gradually was incorporated into it with us. But at this point, if I met someone that was one of my followers, they're not someone I could most likely 90-95% of the time, I don't think it's someone I could have a relationship with, just because first off, that power dynamic of I'm a creator that they followed and they looked up to, and that's just not something I'm comfortable with.
Well, it's funny because I'll tell you, and I don't know, how long has your account been this large, by the way? Because you're right at 300K, aren't you?
270 is what I'm at right now, and you're blowing up pretty big too, my guy. You're at 230.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. That's so I've done sex work and otherwise for decades, right? And until recently, I was never ever the focus ever. It was like, hey, look, I have a background. My master's degree is in marketing. I'm a photographer. I know how to market you. I can make you successful using TikTok, using Instagram. Suicide Girl's kind of dead now too, but you get what I'm saying. Hey, we're going to create together, but it's going to be your brand, your name, your thing, whatever. And then literally,
you're the special prop.
Yeah, and now our account's blown up at mine in the last really 2 months, and it's far surpassed anything the girls' account did. And I'm like, and when we first hit 50K on mine, I'm like, what the fuck? And then we hit 100, and I'm going, and it was very humbling and weird to me, because I didn't expect it. Because I'm not
humbling.
You're 21, you're attractive, you're a skinnier dude. I'm a bigger dude, right? So I don't find myself traditionally attractive, except for women who like older men with dad bods and beards. So when it started blowing up that big, and I don't want to take credit for it. I don't think it has anything to do with my looks. I think it has everything to do with our dynamic. But it's still just, it blew me the fuck away that it's grown that fast and continues to do so. We joked about the glitter beard for 200K. And I'm like, okay, we're approaching 200K. We need to make a plan. We'll do the balloon thing again, whatever. And all of a sudden I'm at 215. I'm like, well, fuck it. Never mind. I missed that one. It's so weird. And as much as people want to hate TikTok, it's literally, from a marketing standpoint, and maybe you've been a creator on Instagram, you've been a creator elsewhere, it's by far the best fucking platform. because whatever
And once you hit that 6 digit, it's just like
Man.
mind blown, and like the gears just switch up. It's so different.
And it's whatever it is with that fucking algorithm. Because Instagram, like, you used to be able to blow up on Instagram like it was nothing. Now, and even now, like, I find it crazy to me that, okay, so TikTok, we're at, you know, whatever you said, 227. Here on Twitch, which we've only been live on Twitch now for about a month, not even.
And
That's
you're at like 15K on here.
15K. My Instagram has 2,200 followers. The girl's Instagram with all the pretty pictures has only 8 grand. Like, so it's weird how much Instagram used to be a thing and has just shit the bed and has just vanished.
I'm just gonna keep my 21,000 followers over here and be quiet.
Fuck right up. Do you have you had any luck with Reddit at all? I'm curious.
I don't like Reddit for posting. I like
don't
Reddit for
either.
browsing. I don't like it for posting.
I like it for
Twitter's okay.
There's good articles on it, but Reddit for me, like, it's the same cis white male thing. My God, I posted us in a poly group on fucking Reddit. Holy shit, did the hate blow up? Oh,
Reddit will tell you apart like it's nothing.
even without cause, just because it's a male-centered relationship, Reddit's like, nope, fuck you, you're going down. You are the goddamn devil.
Reddit gives no fucks about you, your opinion, your personality, or your morals.
No, they really don't, and it's one of those.
They'll dox you and call it a Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that right now. Guys, don't dox anybody. I don't care how much you fucking hate somebody. We even corrected one of our groups because some girl said some ignorant shit and triggered Alice, and we had to check some of our fans because they were sending some hateful shit. And we're like, nope, you're not gonna do that. You're not. We love the support. Support us all you want, but support us positive. Don't do none of that negative shit.
Because what they do reflects back on us.
100%, especially when we're the dom. By the way, everybody in here is saying thank you for all your information. Again, we're gonna have you on here again, dude, because you really do present a lot of great stuff. As a partner in any form of a kink relationship, is there any times where, due to other people, that you have questioned what you do? Oh, I lost it. Speaking specifically about family not being accepting. So in other words, like, have you ever had that moment where you're like, well, maybe I am fucked up. Maybe what I'm doing is not okay. Maybe, like, have you had to deal with that kind of self-loathing or questioning?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I call it waking up in the morning. Because so to put it in perspective, growing up, I was a goody little two shoes Christian boy. Okay, I went to a Christian high school. I was homeschooled. I was in the Methodist church until I was 18 years old. You know, I taught Sunday school. I taught vacation Bible school. I was going to college to be an accountant, the one that deals with other people's numbers. And now here I am, you know, not 3 years after I've turned 18. I'm a practicing, technically Satanist, but we're just going to go with, you know, pagan for this. You know, dyed hair, polyamorous, pansexual, kinky, does sex work, all of this stuff. It's just like, what happened? So,
Satan.
yeah, that's what I do. That's my existential crisis in the morning.
Well, I will tell you that. I mean, I'm agnostic, but you know, same thing as far as although I will tell you that with age, most cases that goes away. Like, it used to really affect me, the negativity and the questions, and like I wanted to be secretive, and now I'm just kind of like, fuck it. I'm 37. I have been through way too much shit. If you don't like it, fuck off. And partially, I had to deal with it with my family. My mom and dad, when I got divorced, it was very much immediately because of my mom's history with men and my real father. The poly thing and everything for her was just a whole big thing. And it literally had to be that point where I'm like, okay, we're going to have a talk about this. And if you don't like it, then we're just not going to chat. And I had to basically abandon my parents for 6 months. And now we have the strongest relationship ever. But it's man.
Because you stood up for yourself.
Because I stood up for myself. But it was not easy. And I have so much, you know, love for people that are dealing with it. And it's, unfortunately, if this is the life you want to live, it's the same. It's not the same struggle as being gay or bisexual or trans, but it kind of is. if this is who you are, if this is what you deal with, you've got to, and you really want it, you've got to be able to go, this is me. And if you don't like it, then they don't belong in your life. And that's really fucking hard. But that's the unfortunate truth. Little Brat Cat asked if she could turn. I want you to answer that.
Yeah.
But she asked if you can turn some of your audio, some of your stuff into audio on TikTok, like clips from this.
You can use some of the clips and turn it into audios.
Okay, so
and
Little Brat, he said yes. Go ahead.
And being in the lifestyle, it's definitely a struggle. It's like it's similar in terms of like the pattern of struggle, but it's nowhere near as, I guess, threatening as it is to be, you know, gay or trans or anything like that.
God.
Yes, it's still a similar, like in terms of, you know, you put social stuff at risk, you know, in certain cases, some kinds of jobs, you know, standings, whatever else. But that's pretty much the extent of it when it comes to polyamory. Kinks, you can sometimes face legal trouble, but when it comes to all those other things that, you know, the kink community is allied to, it pales in comparison.
Oh no, and I don't want to diminish their struggle in the slightest. My biggest thing is just dealing with parents can be the same. But the thing is too, is, I mean, people do have to understand, and that's why the honesty thing comes up, that you can't legally consent to kink. You really can't. And technically polyamory is still
I know all the legals behind polyamory. That one's fun.
Yeah, and we've joked even that you know, the advantage of having a four-person relationship is like Alice and I could get married, and the other two girls could get married. We could all be married together technically, but that could happen. So we're gonna wrap it up, but I do want to I will say somebody asked about where you got your flag from. I'm actually curious.
Amazon. I've been typing in the chat. I don't know.
Okay, I didn't know if you answered or not. So
yeah, no. I got the flag from Amazon. The flag is from Amazon.
The chat is sometimes crazy hard to keep up with. So first of all, I want to thank you 110% for being here.
Of course.
Yeah.
Everybody, thank you for being in the chat. Thank you for sticking with us the whole time. And we were up to 160. We've been over 75 the whole time. So thank you guys so much. Stick with us. We're going to be doing, for some reason, the bots aren't working. So we're still fixing some things. Please do, guys, everybody in the chat, if you get a second, check out my links. Let me type this in here. That's got all of our social media stuff on it, plus the friends only and all that. Do stay tuned. Make sure you follow us. We'll keep you up to date on more podcasts. We are going to have Jayce back in. And then, Jayce, if you would, please hit them with all your information one more time as far as links and socials, where to find you, all that good shit.
I slapped my link in the chat right there, but I go PlayfulJayce on everything now. Everything that was once Call Me Sir J is now fully switched over to PlayfulJayce. So it's not too hard to find me. And if you go to my TikTok, it's pretty easy to, you know, you just tap the link because I have my link in my bio, Instagram, all of that. You find one of my socials, you'll find the rest. And you can see my Twitch in the stream as well. So you can just follow that as well, and it'll take you to everything else. It's very nice consolidating your name. Did my link get blocked?
Yeah, I think it did, because I think I have a link block on it. What is your, do you have a link tree?
I should have muted that.
Yeah, Linktree. It's linktree.ee/PlayfulJayce, one word.
Link.tree, right? Or no, it's linktra.ee/PlayfulJayce.
PlayfulJayce.
I'm going to type it in there for you. I need to turn off that hyperlink block.
Tired.
All right, I'm going to try to find us somebody to raid real super quick. And then we will be on our way. I don't know who we're going to raid. I'm just going to find somebody who's... God, I need to find more people to follow. Oh, you know what? She's... Welcome to Sexy Sundays. That looks kind of sketch, but fuck it. We'll raid them. And
but fuck it.
Fuck it. So, Jayce, thank you so very, very much for being here. Guys, we're going to go ahead and raid somebody. We appreciate it. We will see you all soon. And, Jayce, I will hit you up on the social somewhere. You've been awesome. Thank you so much. Kinky fuckers of Twitch, we out. Go ahead and raid this awesome person. And everybody have an amazing Sunday night. Thank you guys very, very much. Jayce, thank you again.
Good night. Thank y'all. Appreciate it. All right.